Hey guys, I thought I might go live for a little bit, not for long. Not for long. I'm not gonna go live for long. I mean, I had a prompt, so I just didn't know which one to pick. Hello, Mr. Thaddeus Thaddeus. Hi, Mr. Thaddeus. Nice to see you, Thaddeus. My name is Thaddeus. I'm not gonna go live for long. I haven't gone live that often, like the last few weeks. Especially since I have to wake up early, too. No, that's not what the prompt is about. It's not about morals. It has nothing to do with morals. The prompt has nothing to do with morals. It's about rights existing. Yeah, but it's not about. Yeah, it's not about morals. It's about rights existing. Like, where do rights come from if they don't come from the law? It's part of it, but I'm talking specifically about rights. We don't. I didn't design it. We don't. He doesn't. He didn't look like that, but someone made a design for me. I didn't say it did. I conceptualized the prompt and someone made it for me. Now we wait. We wait. Hello, Reina. How you doing? It's probably the last time I'm gonna go live for the entire um year, up until like the next year, like the new year. So this is the last live of 2025. So I'm not gonna go live until next year. I haven't been going live that lately the last like week or two either. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
So I might go live a little bit. Then I'm gonna go to the airport um this morning. Uh, yeah. What do you think about the prompt? Do you have any opinions at all?
I say it is true. Can't really argue it. At that point, you'll just get into an argument of whether or not God exists.
Yeah.
So it should be interesting.
The point of the prompt is I don't see how you can argue rights existing. Um, if they come from the government, that's obviously a problem. Um, and if they just exist, they're just self evident. I wouldn't really take that. Um, hello, Mr. Mort.
Hello. Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Chilling.
Like a villain. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it.
Oh, yeah. Vector.
Hello.
Hi.
Oh no, no! Oh my goodness! No, thank you.
Is this Scrimbo?
Oh yeah, no, thank you.
No, get him back up here. I want to talk to him.
No, no, no. We're not
I want to
gonna-
talk to him. I want to talk to him.
No, don't let him back up.
Yeah, let him up. Let him up. Let him up. Let him up. Let him up.
No, no, I'm good. No.
Let him up. Who's this?
Oh, hello.
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 Hold on, let me mute myself for 1 second.
Okay. Moral rights are a biological construct. Love the
How?
confusion. Keep it up.
How? How are the? It's open panels. Like it was
Sorry, you had to turn down my TV.
Okie dokie, artichoke.
quite the mood, Mr. Mort.
I'm always in the mood. Kurt, hello.
Hi there.
Hey, I noticed your confused comment. I mean, I was just wondering, are you confused? Like, what's happening?
Your accent is so cute. I appreciate you trying to make me feel at home.
Oh, well, you're welcome, honey boo boo. Don't worry, I'm from the South also. I'm from Louisiana, the Boondocks. So
You are not. You're a liar.
I'm
You're
actually
from
dead
Louisiana?
ass.
I had no idea. You're from Louisiana.
I actually am dead ass from Louisiana.
That's cool.
Did you move there when you were young? Because
Yeah, no. If I say I'm from somewhere, that means like I was born there and raised there.
I mean, I say I'm from Texas, but I was technically born in California, but I moved to Texas when I was like 4.
That is so cool.
You're being mean to me right now, and I don't appreciate it. Do you want to talk, or do you want to make fun of my accent?
I'm not making fun of your accent if I actually have this accent. I
Maybe
mean,
he wants to do both. Who knows?
be clear,
Okay, all right.
you know. Come on, Charlene, let's talk about it. So, can can you explain that comment?
Yeah, I will. So
It's
yeah.
hotter than a witch's coochie in here.
Okay, so you got me derailed. Christianity. I was talking about like moral rights being a biological construct.
What does that mean?
Humans
What
are
does that even
animals.
mean?
I'm gonna tell you. Hold
Well,
your horses.
you're not like telling me how moral rights are based on
hold your
biological
horses. Pull the
construct.
reins.
What horses?
Humans are essentially animals, right?
I don't
Every
agree.
animal is either a
don't
social
agree.
creature. Okay. Well, anyways, I'll finish my sentence and you can tell me what
You finish your
you
sentence.
agree on the deeper sense.
Okay, you
But-
finished your sentence. So like, Charlene, I do hope you know
Gross.
humans are not animals. Oh,
I don't know what happened there, but I guess the first person at the top. Hero, what do you think about the prompt? It's open panel, by the way. What do you think about the prompt?
Well, I don't believe that morals are just like based on Christianity. I believe that morals have been around like since, before Jesus Christ our Lord was
okay.
Well, I don't mean like morals. I mean like rights. Like when I mean moral rights, I mean
Well-
like rights outside the law. Like entitlements outside of the law.
okay, so without government, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I would say that like morals have been around for like I don't know. I had to Google search it because I had to like pick up some things before I like understood the prompt.
Girl,
So
morals have
as-
been around since God existed.
yeah, I mean I would say yes. I mean since humanity ever existed as well. I'm looking as I looked on Google it said like 40,000 years ago. Like they were showing principles of morals and stuff
That
like
doesn't
that.
even follow. I do hope you know that it's just going to be the case that 43,000 years ago nothing existed.
40,000 years ago nothing existed. I mean
Yep. Not even a million.
I mean, the trees existed. I mean, dinosaurs.
No.
Wait a minute. Do you not believe in dinosaurs?
I do believe in dinosaurs, but I don't believe in fucking science saying 13.5 billion years ago the universe was like created or whatever, and then we'll say like 4.6 billion years ago the earth was created, and then humans started like whatever around like 200,000 years ago. I don't think it makes sense.
Okay. I mean, I guess that's what you believe.
I'm a
There's
young
nothing wrong
earther.
with that.
I know there's nothing wrong with the correct belief.
Okay. Are you Christian? I'm
very
not
much
being
am.
like rude about it. I'm Christian, so
OW, then you should be a young earther.
A what?
A young earther.
I have
Is this
a-
just
I
a
mean, I have a-
trolling live? Then
I have a
It's
problem.
not a
with that, too.
trolling live.
I
I
have a-
honestly.
Well, again,
What were you saying, Papa Protect?
I mean, morals have been a thing since humanity has existed, so I guess take it as you
Yeah.
will if that's before.
7,000
Christ.
years ago.
Well, again, the prompt is addressing rights.
Right.
So, like, the whole point of the prompt.
For
The whole point of the prompt is like, how do you get the idea that humans have rights?
they're a
Without-
construct.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Moral rights.
Yeah.
Like,
They're human made.
I would say the best argument for rights.
Negative rights aren't human made.
Oh, hello, Jen. It's open panel, by the way. I say like and I'm not saying I agree. I say the best argument for rights existing is a creator gave them and bestowed them on.
I disagree. Like, do you like think that prior to any kind of like government established and you're just like living alone on an island? Guys, did I just sound like Edna? Guys, I just sounded like Edna.
Anywho,
But like, do you think like
Wait,
if you're on an
wait,
island,
but-
like isolated from any kind of like government or like any kind of a authority or like anything, you're just alone, nothing's established. Like, do you have rights?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would say in that scenario, no.
Well, then
So
something
then you
higher
don't
than
have
that.
rights given by God. That doesn't.
Yeah. Wait. If your rights are given by God, it wouldn't matter if you live in a tribal society.
Well, you just said there's no rights, so then God
No,
didn't
I'm
give
saying
you rights.
if I said without God, there would be.
Wait, but protect
Bro.
even with God, right? Then that means like something on that level would have to protect and uphold these rights. And if there is something like if you're on an island and a tribe just brutally grapes you, I don't think that God necessarily care about your rights.
Mike,
then.
come on, Mike,
Well,
come
hold
on.
on, Genesis. I think this is the strongest arguments for rights existing. I'm not saying
No, nah.
I'm not saying they do exist. I'm saying this is the if you're gonna
You
argue.
said they do exist.
If I were to believe in rights, it would be from the
You
Christian
do
perspective.
believe in rights. You established you did.
Yeah, if they did exist, they would come from a Christian God. If they did exist.
Oh, I also want to say to Catholic Mike really quickly. The death penalty, I say, like, is very much going to be applicable. When it comes to like saying, hey, you know, the laws of the land, blah blah blah. But I mean, like, there's obviously there's a lot of entailments, like, as to why it's going to be fine for the death penalty.
Wait,
honestly,
more-
I do want to have a discussion with you about that.
More like other things that the Catholic Church get wrong, they also believe that the death penalty is wrong.
Well, it's no longer necessary.
Not exactly. I wouldn't
longer necessary.
prioritize the whole Catholic doctrine or anything of the sort. Like to say, oh, hey, they all believe this. I don't think it's going to be the case. Like if we were to say like, Calvinists were to believe in the death penalty, and we'll say like, we don't know that all 100% of them believe in this, obviously, and I wouldn't say that the teachings affirm this 100% either. It just really depends on the location and hermeneutics.
Well, if we're talking about like the Catholic Church as a whole, though, right? It would be
Okay,
the case.
as a whole, they don't all think it's wrong.
the Catholic Church is presupposed to be like adhering to the Pope's authority. Like
That's
if you're going to
confused.
argue that
That
there's
is
one
confused.
church, if you were going to argue that there's one church that has a
I'm
single
not arguing
authority,
there's one church. That would
no,
be
I'm
really
saying
stupid.
that Jen is hinting at the fact that this is church doctrine. So if you're
Oh
going
no,
to
no,
make a
no,
point
no!
that
I didn't say anything about it being church.
he's
doctrine.
saying not every Catholic believes it, and I'm saying if you're going to make a claim against any one religion, you can make a claim against the Catholics because they are known particularly for having a singular point of authority.
No, not exactly.
Yes.
Well,
Yes,
no.
exactly. Yes.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
no.
But
Yes.
if it's not the Pope, then what's the other form of authority, more?
God, the Bible.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what the Pope says. His authority
Yeah, no,
is
that's not
derived
true at
from.
all. You utter
Yes.
restarted person.
Okay.
so simmer down, simmer down.
Simmer down on this. I'm just kidding.
Okay,
But
enough. All right, enough.
Arguing
Rhetoric.
using the Calvinists as an example shows like
it was
where you're
just an
short-sighted.
example of two
Exactly, it
different
shows where you're
groups. Don't take it to
short-sighted. No,
heart.
it shows where you're short-sighted on this point of view.
Short-sighted?
Because
don't
the
talk
Calvinists
about like
themselves are a
short-sighted
splinter
or
group
like
that has
how
moved
like
on.
Calvinists think.
They
Because I
have
used to
moved
be a
on from the
Calvinist like
Pope's
3
authority.
hours ago.
Exactly, they derive from the Pope's authority. They're known for that particularly. Like
Yeah,
you
no,
are in its
no,
essence of bringing that up
nope,
as an
nope.
example.
Nope.
You are like exactly showing your ignorance on it.
Well,
Did
So
you
what
not
do you,
understand me?
so what do you think?
literally, listen, Buckaroo.
Yeah.
So what do
Listen.
you? All right. What do you think
Yeah.
about? What do
Where's
you,
your smart remark now? Yeah. Where's
do you-
your
Okay,
cool
guys,
response
time
now?
to pipe up a bit.
all right. What do you
Yeah.
think?
So,
Go
What do
ahead.
you, all right. What do you think about the prompt then?
It seems to be the case that you literally presuppose and assume that I don't know anything about the sort, and so I want you to like give me some kind of like belief in which you think it's going to be the case, right? So, as you're doing this, let me know when you like stop, because then I'm going to critique the hell out of you, as to what the argument's going to be, and I'm going to like straight up beat your ass intellectually, since you are a restarted person and not like
All right.
like capable of like reaching a cognitive mental state of intuitionality. So. Go on. Go ahead.
All right. Simmer down.
Simmer down on this. I'm just kidding.
But seriously, what is the argument that rights exist in Christianity?
I'm not saying there is. I'm just that's the strongest argument for rights existing. It's
They
just
go to bed, Starshine. Wow.
Wait, it's not a strong argument. I mean, I don't think it's the strongest argument for rights existing. I think like even like NLT would be stronger than just presupposing
NLT
that.
has nothing to do with rights.
so like.
I would-
Wait, are you
I would
saying?
say that making an argument grounded in like some kind of natural law would be a stronger argument than saying that God gives us rights.
Well, I mean,
God
isn't
gives us the
NLT like
inherent
kind
right
of?
to die.
Isn't like NLT kind of like Christianity to some degree?
God gives us the right to like choice, freedom. So,
Well,
not like
Wait, this isn't really
free will is a right we have in which cannot be taken or infringed upon. I mean, it can be like infringed upon if you're killed. But I mean,
yeah.
I forget what I was gonna say.
you should face your will protect.
So natural law theory, what like they just exist? Or are they like self-evident?
No, I'm saying that you might be able to ground rights in some kind of natural law, like negative rights.
What makes you
Protect, face reveal, face reveal.
I already
king.
showed you my face. I already showed you.
Face reveal, king. Face reveal.
I already showed you my face.
Face protect.
I already showed you.
Yeah, but I'm gonna either become Orthodox or Catholic. So.
Well, orthodoxy for sure.
Yeah, Oriental Orthodox. I agree.
It seems to be the case that I don't know yet.
Can I answer the prompt?
Yeah.
It's May.
Stop yapping. Yeah, you can answer.
Suck my cock.
All right. Yeah, you can answer.
Right. I don't think Christianity is the best argument for moral rights existing. Based on, well, especially here in the U.S., because based on our educational system and the propensity for the lesser or degenerate to misconstrue the Bible and act on it in reality, just like they do with social media and mass pew pewings and school pew pewings and CSA.
How is this analogous?
What do you
It's
mean?
analogous. It's analogous because these are all things.
I'll be back later.
These are all things that are in the Bible. These are all things that are perpetuated in the Bible.
Yeah, so would you say that if somebody is misunderstanding or misrepresenting Christianity, are they actually holding to Christian morals?
Can we say that again?
Yeah, so if somebody is misrepresenting or does not understand an idea or like some kind of religion or belief system, are they actually representing that belief system or religion?
If the statistics of the people that mostly follow the religion,
this doesn't answer my question.
Okay, all right, I'll answer your question. Chill. I get it. Don't say it all again. You're gonna hurt my hand.
Just go ahead then.
I believe so. Yes, because if it's enough people, then yes. If it's
so what is Christianity?
It's a religion.
Like what would like what is Christian ethics? What is like the true Christian ethics?
Well, I would say that it's a lot of hypocrisy.
Okay, that doesn't really tell me what the Christian ethics are.
Why
Just
don't you
like
tell me what the
stonewalling.
Christian? Why don't
Just
you
like
tell me what the
stonewalling.
Christian ethics are? I
Well,
could learn something.
let's take like the Ten Commandments. Let's just be very basic and take the Ten Commandments. I think this is
Sure.
very fair. Maybe add in the golden
Okay.
rule, right?
Sure.
So I mean, for instance, thou shalt not murder. Okay, I think this is a blatant and obvious one. I don't see why, if we don't adhere to these Ten Commandments, I think that we'd fall into utter chaos, right?
Yes, but like,
So
okay,
if we had, hold on,
But
if
then
we
why
had,
do we
yeah.
require? But then why do we require
one
human
second.
law?
1 second. So if we had
Sorry.
somebody misrepresent this idea of the Ten Commandments, are they actually representing the idea itself?
If statistically the amount of things that
What
have
the
happened,
fuck do you mean statistically? I'm asking if they are trying to represent this idea, but are completely misrepresenting it incorrectly. Are they representing the same idea?
I mean, what you're
yeah,
alluding
anybody,
to is
yeah,
the
yeah,
no
because
true
anybody can
Scotsman
claim to.
fallacy.
Yeah, because anybody can claim to.
Anybody can claim to. Okay, sure, anybody can claim to, but are they actually representing the idea?
Like this is an argument.
It's easy
often
enough for a
used.
human being to lie.
Hey,
Is that
hold
not
on.
correct?
No. This is an argument that is often used. It is known as a fallacy. So you'll say that if a Christian does something, oh, bad, they'll say, oh, they were not a true Christian. And they say a different Christian does something bad, they'll say, oh, they were not a true Christian. I see where you're going.
It's a true Scotsman fallacy.
Yeah, I know, but I was using it for his specific one, but overall, it's not really a fair argument to make just to shift it. I don't agree that just because Christians have done bad things, that means that Christian ethics are bad. I think that's wrong, but I just do think it is, just want to point that out. Sorry, guys.
No, you're good, dude. I totally caught the no true Scotsman fallacy. It's just, I think it's a stupid argument, and that's why I was trying to show the absurdity of it. If you are to represent an idea poorly, I don't think. Oh, he ran. I don't take it to be the case you are actually representing the actual idea. This is a completely different idea that you presupposed from whatever misinterpretation you got from the Ten Commandments. You're not actually holding up the Ten Commandments. That's the whole point.
Oh, that's a fair point.
Oh, he's back.
Yeah, right on, mate.
Sorry, my internet cut.
Oh, you're good. Yeah, so I mean, do you have like a good argument to why it would be wrong to use Christian ethics to support an argument for moral rights?
Well, yeah. Okay, so basically, if you're saying that if you're putting these ideas that were put on a pedestal in the Bible as opposed to the actions in the Bible, then I think that you might yourself just be confused because the actions that God took in the Bible are a lot different than what he preached, right? So like,
I have a question.
I mean, he did unalive entire cities, so that
May
is
I
his
ask
point.
what?
I mean, he did, and then also he did take
You understand?
take part in take part in justifying slavery in CSA
Wait, where does
and
he justify
child
slavery?
trafficking.
Wait, where does he?
Ezekiel
Just by saying
31
Ezekiel,
31
yeah. And what's
13 or
this is cherry
Ezekiel
picking.
31 15
Yeah.
17.
What's the context? This is cherry picking. I already know this fucking argument. It's so low tier. What's the context of the passage?
War.
Okay, and what does he say in the passage?
Raina wants to say something.
I believe he says, kill all the boys, or I'm sorry, K word all the boys. I think it was kill K word all the boys. Take the
Nope. Don't
children
take
for yourself or so. I can't remember.
No,
Can't remember right off the top of my head.
No,
But it says, but at
he
the end of
specifically
the
says.
hold on. How are you going to keep talking if you don't let me finish?
He literally says
Your,
spare no
my
one because
sentence
you're
doesn't
lying.
end at the beginning of
You're
yours.
lying. You're lying.
My sentence doesn't end at the beginning of
Okay,
yours.
but you're still lying, so I'm calling you out on that.
How am I lying? In
Yeah,
the
because
end of that verse it says,
he
"In the
doesn't
whole
call the sheriff.
listen,
He
man.
doesn't call
Do you want to
any
talk or not? Because
spare
this isn't how
anyone.
talking works. This isn't
Yeah,
how
I
talking works.
understand you're crashing out. You
Your
have to give me a good
sentence doesn't
argument.
begin in the middle of
Oh
mine.
my God, your sentence doesn't begin in. Well, maybe if you can form an actual argument that doesn't result in any kind of cherry picking or lying, this would be fine.
Cherry picking or lying?
Yeah, you're lying about the scripture.
Brother, everybody cherry
one-
picks and
yeah.
lies off of the Bible every day.
Yeah.
The only difference between me and you is that I'm pointing out the bad things that happened in the Bible. You only
yeah,
want
yeah.
to point out the
The
good.
reason why it's bad, because see, you're misrepresenting an idea. This idea that you're representing is not going to be factual or true because you don't understand the context. You just regurgitate the same fucking argument you've heard every other atheist spew my way.
Whoever said I was an atheist? Now you're just making false. You're just making bad faith
I would
claims.
say, wait.
Bad faith claims.
So are you not?
You're
are you
not even
an
worth
atheist?
debating if you're gonna be bad faith
Okay,
claims.
so are you not an atheist?
I'm not.
Okay, so are you agnostic or what are you?
I'm omnitheist.
Omnitheist. Okay. Okay, so we just are gonna be omnitheist.
What the hell is that, mate? Omnitheist? What the hell is that?
I'm not explaining my religion. That's
Sorry, I will Google. Sorry, mate.
I mean, he just believes in a multitude of different religions.
I don't know what that means. Like, are all of them the same? Or all of them valid? I don't know what that means. I hope they. If you guys don't understand the prompt, I can restate what it means.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the whole point of the prompt is that, like, the best argument. I'm not saying this is true, right? But how can you argue rights exist? When I'm talking about rights, I'm talking about moral rights, obviously. How can you argue they exist if they're not granted to you by a deity? In this case, the Christian God, or really any God.
because it would go against the basic structure of a human being's innate nature to survive.
Oh, I'm thinking about that angle too, mate. So, like, I'm thinking about like it from an evolutionary point of view. But are you kind of thinking about it like that too?
Yeah, I mean, it's our nature to survive. It's any
Yeah.
living creature's nature to survive and to take actions to flourish.
If we accept that certain human activities, certain behaviors towards one another, and individual behaviors are crucial for us existing as a species, we can then look at that fact as a way to extend rights to newborn babies. They have to be able to grow up to like help the society, or otherwise this whole society would crumble. So I can see a way to assign rights, moral rights to without a religion, if we look at it from the case of humanity needing to survive.
You see, that's the thing I'm talking about. If you're assigned, do they actually exist? Do they exist because we just give them to people through a legal
Yeah.
structure?
No,
they-
no,
I don't think you
I would say-
necessarily believe that, YNW. Like, if you're making it to be the case that rights are going to be contingent on the reproduction of our society, then, like, I guess, like, would you find it fair to put, like, women in breeding cages if we aren't able to keep up with the reproductive levels of our society?
I mean, this is a wild hypothetical. I would never go to that point.
Then why
See,
is
and
it
that's
there
why
would-
that's
I think
that's when I
I-
start to question. I'm sorry, but that's when I start to question the character of the person that I'm
Oh,
talking.
boo-hoo, because I used a reductio ad absurdum, whatever, dude.
Bro, you're just
Then
sick.
Why,
You're-
No,
You're
it's
just
okay.
sick,
No,
man.
it's okay to have hypotheticals. It was stretching my understanding of the topic. Even though I'm on the other side, it's okay to have those hypotheticals. I
Well, hold
appreciate
on.
it.
Well,
Yeah.
hold on. If I may cut in, I'm not sure of your framework, but if you hold to utilitarian ethics, I don't see why this would be a moral action.
So I'm not necessarily pointing to utilitarian ethics system. I am pointing to what has happened because it was necessary to happen. So human society and human beings came into existence because we afforded one another a certain basic level of empathy that required feeding your children at the most basic extent and whatnot. Like we're talking about those basic core things, not unaliving your children and that sort of thing. Basic core, you can call them moral rights.
Mhm.
Without those things having naturally happened, we would not exist as a species.
So
I'm
would
not
you say
saying that like as scientists need to get together and like come up with a breeding program to like do what you're saying in order to continue society. I am just pointing to the fact that we have urges, we have natural inhibitions towards certain things that we can call moral rights
Mhm.
without necessarily having to point to religion as the cause of why we have these inner feelings like
Okay,
in
so
our like
so
in our
what
hearts,
about
you know.
what about sexual actions that don't lead to any kind of reproduction, like GAI relations or anything like that?
Gee,
GAY, like gay
oh
relationships.
yeah, so I mean, if you want to get into the evolutionary biology, many species have um I don't know the TikTok word you say
You say just like
GAY,
yeah.
yeah, they all have those sorts of creatures within their populations.
Yeah, but
And
they're
it
also not really moral agents, though. Like for instance, they
and
also
it
have like
often
they,
and what the biologists say is across multiple species, these
right, but
different
this
individuals which do not pertain to the certain levels of sexuality, they end up helping the overall species. That's what all of the literature I have seen points
Wait,
to that.
how does
right.
doing that
Yes,
like
because when you have freed up individuals that are not putting their resources towards offspring, their resources then go towards the overall society at large instead of just towards their own, and that ends up benefiting the overall society.
Right. So like
So
we
like
also
two gay
understand.
people, they don't have
Wait.
kids,
You
and then
understand?
their income goes to
We
everybody.
understand.
Yeah.
We understand.
Yeah.
We understand. Well, you understand. We can make the same argument for like grape as well, right? Like for instance, animals will grape in society. This might even be able to help with the reproduction levels. Therefore, if it helps with reproduction levels and helps sustaining societies, then maybe we should make grape
Come
to
the
be
fuck
I know
permissible.
on.
you're going for the shock point.
no he's not.
If you would explain that a little bit more. Yeah,
What are you
sorry,
talking about?
without,
He
yeah, no,
just he
sorry.
just said
Yeah, I know you're going for the
holding
shock
women
argument.
captive.
I'm sorry.
He
Yeah.
just said holding
Yeah.
women captive. I think
So
there's something wrong with this
if
individual.
Yappy Box on here would shut up for a second. So yeah. So if you're saying that there could be some kind of like outcome in which like animals engaging in homosexuality like relations would help society itself thrive or the population itself
It's true.
thrive. Right,
Yeah.
then I would say that one can make the same argument that if animals grape each other, and they do grape each other,
Yeah.
this could help the population of said animal, right, and
So
the environment of the animals
They
itself.
don't hold the same consciousness as us.
No
yeah,
fucking
so
shit. That's my point.
we're moving in between realms of like what is right. Like, oh, is it right that animals will rape each other in order to reproduce? No, it's not right, but it is what the evolutionary biology of them will produce. I know that there's a lot of species of animals that do this.
Well, if you're appealing to evolution, they would be permissible. That's the thing. That's what he's
No,
saying.
it's not. Yeah, okay. So I'm talking about in a human understanding. So in a human understanding, when we have to consider what is going to produce more humanity, create a better society for us, right? We have to look at that. So if you're putting women in a breeding factory, you're not benefiting society at large because you're destroying all of the society and all of the humanity because you are destroying half of the population by using women as that. So it kind of goes to that moral argument, while at the same time leaning on evolution. Yeah, it's not a pure what do you say before utilitarian argument at that point.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question.
Yeah,
You think euthanasia should be banned?
no.
So how does this benefit so people unalive themselves, which would go against their self preservation, self deletion, right? Do you think that should be banned?
I mean, certain people wanting to unalive themselves doesn't. I mean, if they're having a really tough time, they're suffering from a really bad illness, and they want to unalive themselves, that's okay
I
for
never
them.
stipulated that. They could just have just depression.
No, I would disagree. I think there should be a long chain of meeting with medical professionals. You have to meet a lot of criteria to see that you are actually not just like, somebody randomly, not just walk in there, say I'm depressed, give me some, something to unalive myself. I would not agree with that, no. Sorry, I misunderstood your question.
Yeah, because because when I think about euthanasia, right? So I don't think it should be allowed, but especially in those cases, like a person is just depressed. So like that's the thing that's the thing that I think it puts us in a different category from animals is we can go against our self-preservation. We literally have people who take their own lives, which literally goes against self-preservation. So in order to preserve the species, this action should be outlawed.
I mean,
Which action?
if you want to get like
Euthanasia.
he's saying unalivement should
Oh.
not be allowed. Like, so sorry, smooth side euthanasia. I think if you even want to go to that extreme example, I don't mean to collapse on this point entirely, but if you want to go to that extreme example, there has been multiple societies throughout the world anthropologists have looked at that once people have gotten older and they were drained on resources, they did a ritual unalivement of themselves.
I
You
know. I
yeah,
know.
so like, and they benefited their overall society in that regard. So I'm not saying that this is a good thing necessarily. I am, but if we were looking at like from that standpoint, I think there has been examples. Sorry.
Well,
I mean,
you're just giving descriptions, not prescriptions, right?
to be fair, there are some insects that will sacrifice themselves to save the colony.
Well, I know, like, okay, you can argue there's a difference between self-deletion and sacrifice, right? I think the person who just like wants to take their lives because they just don't want to live anymore, how would that be benefiting? How would they be sacrificing themselves for like a colony? Or like I would say there's like a distinction.
Well, I mean, for instance, you could have somebody that wanted to make some kind of political statement, right? And in doing so, they planned on taking their own life afterwards. They might see this action as like a way that they thought was benefiting society. But I guess I see what you're saying.
I mean, look, back to string it back to Christianity. I mean, let's say this point, and Reina, I think, was going to say something. Like, you obviously wouldn't believe Jesus. What he did was self-deletion. Like, would
No.
in that category. Like, I would say there's a distinction between like self-deletion and like sacrificing oneself. But yeah, I think Reina wanted to say something. Speak, you may speak. You're even there. Hello, Reina. Hello, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, but like it's already like way off of topic. I was just asking him. He said something about we're put on a pedestal. What pedestal are we put on?
I don't know who she's addressing. But someone did make that claim earlier.
I don't know. I was cleaning. All I know is that I heard. I think it was Yam, but I'm not sure.
Okay. So, we'll leave it at that. So, Britt, what do you have to say about the prompt?
Hey,
Hello. What do you have to say about the prompt?
pretty much put it in the comments. Looking at the prompt, I mean, the Ten Commandments were given,
Do
during
you
the.
understand what the prompt means? Do you understand what it means?
Yeah, I mean, for the morality, right? We were given the Ten Commandments. I think that's a good moral compass to
No.
live by.
No, the prompt referring. When I mean moral rights, I mean rights without the legislation. So no, not legal rights, like moral entitlements. So like, how can we have these without a creator granting these, right? And even from that view, even from that worldview, the Ten Commandments are more obligations. I mean, they're called the Ten Commandments for a reason. Like, they're things that you have to do, not necessarily something that you're entitled to.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it, if God calls you to love, then all those things kind of just align perfectly on their own without it being like a forced hand. If you love someone, you won't, murder them or cheat on them or want bad for them or envy them. There's those things. If you love God, you're going to want to spend time with Him. Those things kind of just align naturally when you're loving God and loving others.
Yeah, are there is so basically I guess the question is are we entitled to have love, or is loving others a obligation that we're supposed to do? Or both?
Wait. I wouldn't say it's an obligation. Like, for instance, um, I would say like I have this love for my parents, and in doing, in having this love, I do things for my parents, not because I'm obligated to, but because I have a desire to. I would say that that's going to be like the same thing as like these quote unquote moral, I guess, judgments that we have, based off like, the Christian worldview that we hold to. That's not going to be because we don't want to be punished. It's because we love God so much, we want to do these things for God, in the favor of God, because we love God.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, love is a good thing that God has created. So I mean, I would agree.
Wait, God didn't create love. Just to be fair,
What makes you say that?
because God is love.
Okay, I guess that'd be right then.
Yeah.
Do you guys believe in like, how do I say this? The widespread phenom of human um objection to like heinous things morally?
Yeah.
Like, as in like moral, like morals will be objective or what?
I guess, how should I say that?
Objective morality.
Yeah, I guess I'm too tired to do this right now.
Yamio, are you just saying like? Oh, okay, never mind.
I think I kind of get what he's saying. Is like I don't know. Universally, there's things everybody would find wrong. Is that what he means? Or like I
Like
don't know.
if that is where he was going, I would just take it to be the case that the scripture says that God writes His law in our hearts, and this would be why we would, intuitively or instinctually know that certain things are wrong.
I mean, I could understand the prompt, especially looking at the fact that if someone is an atheist, where does their moral compass come from and why? What is the point?
I would say they borrow morality.
I would say that too. I would say like, how do you have rights to anything? Like you're saying you have rights because the government says so. Like you don't actually have a right to free speech. You have free speech, right? Because the government says so. You're not entitled to this thing. These are like legal privileges that are protected by our government, but you don't have these rights. I don't see how a person who thinks that we evolved from animals, I don't see how we could I don't see how you can say we have rights. I say just like legal protections.
If you believe that rights are predicated on force doctrine, right? There's only one place that rights could come from, and that would be from God, because He would be the only one that could actually enforce said rights, right? So, like, when we think of rights within our, like, civilization, I would say the majority of what we would consider rights are just they're constructed ideas that in a lot of cases we say that we have, but they're violated, which I would say kind of points to the fact that we don't. The only way that they are actually enforced is through punishment, right? So, like, if I decide to, smack Brit up there, right, then I've given up my right to safety, and she can, smack me back +1, So, like, that's
And I would.
right. Like, that's yeah, right. So, like, yeah, if your idea of rights is predicated on force doctrine, the point that I was getting at is there's only one force that could absolutely enforce your right.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I think Kenzie was next. What do you think about the prompt? And then we'll move on to For God.
I will say, just to be fair, that force doctrine just posits that might makes. Oftentimes it's straw man who might makes right, but it's literally just going to be might makes.
Oh, it's just a descriptive claim. It's not a prescriptive claim.
Yeah.
Okay, we're just gonna move on to For God. What do you think about the prompt?
Hey, brother. I disagree. I don't think I know it's a question, but I don't disagree. I don't think that Christianity is the best argument for moral rights existing. I think that it's the only argument for objective morality, and that's what I'm basing this off of is objective morality. And bear with me because I'm exhausted, but so objective morality has to come from a mind that is greater than ours. So I would say that objective morality comes from God. If it doesn't come from God, it would be subjective, and that would mean that the human mind has created morality. The human mind is not infallible. This would basically mean that the chemical compounds in my brain are determining what morality is, but that doesn't mean that the chemical compounds in your brain are determining what the same morality that I came up with. So this would make things like schmurder or child rape subjectively moral.
Well, just to play the devil's advocate for a second here, For God, I mean, someone could make the argument, right? So I would agree that it would have to come from God or a God, right? So to be the devil's advocate, I could also say that, like if I wasn't a Christian, if I were to come at this from, say, like maybe a pantheistic view, that there are gods and that these gods are where we get our morality. So like you could look at, say, the Greek pantheon, or even like the Viking pantheon.
Right, but where do those gods state? I guess, for example, to love your neighbor and to not harbor hate in your heart, because if you harbor hate for your brother, you've committed murder in your heart.
Right, I would agree. I would say, though, that the argument would have to become, like, you would have to show, like, I'm not downing what you're saying, I'm just saying that someone could make that claim, right?
Right.
So what I'm saying, though, is the argument would have to then evolve to the point of, basically, you would have to show why the Christian worldview is the most moral worldview. So that's all I was getting at.
So what would you say, CNC? Because I would maybe look at like Matthew chapters 5-7, and I would look at the Sermon on the Mount, and that's what I would use to determine like morality.
Sure. Yeah.
But what would you say? Because I haven't
playing the devil's advocate. I'd have to kind of first off probably pick a god or a religion or whatever outside of Christianity that maybe had similar ideas, and then say, well, no, I think that this is more moral because there's more love shown here, or which I think there are people that would try to make those arguments. I would say in the long run, though, when placed side by side, they would absolutely fail.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. What do you think I should say to somebody that would might use that as an argument against me? What would you say?
Well, personally, if it was me, I would say, well, let's sit down and actually look at the morals that each of our beliefs teaches, and I can show you why what I believe would be a better system of morality than what you currently hold. And I can show you, because inevitably what you'll find in other religions is contradictions, and I would say, I can show you why this would be a better system of morality, and where the contradictions lie within what you believe. So like taking to be the case, like I would take it to be the case that if a Muslim and a Christian sat down, that we can show contradictions within the Muslim teachings, and we
Right.
can show, even though they have similar in some respects, morals in some places. I mean, they wildly different in others, but we could show like why this would be the case, that this system of morality is a better system of morality, and that there are contradictions in what they believe.
So it would really just come down to me stating that, you know, the New Testament, this is the true story of the whole world, but let's talk about your morals and your doctrine that you believe in and why this isn't even true in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the whole idea of apologetics really is. I mean,
Right.
And you know, the scripture says that we are to have a defense for the faith that's in us.
Yes.
And so, like, this is where that boils down to for me, when you're like talking about rights and you know, morality. Like, to me, that would be the case that we could basically just do apologetics with them to show them why we believe this, and why this is the only, like you said, the only place that morality would truly exist, because what they're believing in is false. That these other gods that they believe exist do not.
Yeah. Right. Even the Jesus of that that Islam talks about, that's a false Jesus.
Same thing with like Mormonism.
I was about to
Right.
say that. Yeah, I was literally about to say that.
Yeah, of course.
Or even like Jehovah's Witness. I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, CNC.
yeah, no problem. I just like I totally agree with your position. It's my position as well. I just kind of want to expand your mind maybe a little bit on like
Yeah,
how we
no,
would
you definitely
defend
did.
that. Yeah. So I actually did a argument, like a formal argument for rights existing under the Christian worldview. And that's why I came up, because I was like, oh, I finally get to use that.
Oh, let's
Yeah.
hear it. Let's hear it. What is it?
So I said it is, I can't remember all my premises, but I said it is reasonable. I think it said it was reason. The first premise was it's reasonable to believe that rights exist under the Christian worldview. It is logical to believe that they exist under the Christian worldview. Therefore, rights exist because of God. I think that's how I did it. It's been a while.
Yeah, amen.
Did you use this recently?
Hmm?
Did you use this recently?
It's been about a month since
Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of contentions with that.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're gonna say there's like a lot of presuppositions in those premises. Like, I guess they would say like, what determines? I mean, this is kind of like a metaethical question. What constitutes as reasonable?
Reasonable would just be, I guess, defined as intuitive.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree. I'm not saying rights are real, right? Moral rights, but if they were to be real, this would be for me the strongest position. I don't think rights just self-evident. I don't believe that anymore. Like, oh, we just have them because of the universe. I think that's kind of stupid. I think they would need to be granted by a being in order for us to have rights. And obviously, if you think rights come from the government, that's obviously delusional. So I think that's the strongest argument for rights existing.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really get into defining what those said rights were. My argument was basically that if rights do exist, the only way that they could exist would be by God.
Yes.
You know, now if we want to get into like defining rights, there are people that would say, like I would say that I would say that rights oftentimes with God start out as gifts and become guarantees, right? And while I know there'll be people that have contention with this, right? So, for example, under my world belief, my Christian world belief, like salvation is a gift from God, right? But he says that we are sealed and that no man can take them from my hand. He also says he will complete the good work that he started in us. So then this becomes a guarantee, which then becomes a right. That is the ideological like flow of that idea. So like I could say that salvation, once accepted as a gift, then would become a right. Just as an example. Like I said, I know there are people that'll have contention with that because not everybody believes that you know, like me, that you can't lose your salvation. So
I can't remember. I think it's abductive or deductive. I can't remember. I don't even know what they are. But like, I think it's like deductive reasoning, where it's like most likely to be the case that rights exist from Christian. I think I know what you. I don't remember what it's called.
but like,
Yeah.
you know, like one of the questions I was like throwing around, would we actually have a right to life from God? And I would say limitedly. And I know that sounds funny. Like, if God creates us and he puts us in the womb, right? Then like our life is guaranteed, but it doesn't say how long it's guaranteed for.
Well, I mean, I guess it would mean what you mean by rights. So how I would see right to life to be, it just means it can't be. It's like a kind of like a negative rights. It can't be taken away unjustly. There has to be
Yeah,
a
so
just. Yeah.
so I mean, I guess if that is like what you're saying, then I would say we could say. I don't know if I would say. I'd have to do some more thinking about it, but we could logically conclude under that framework that yes, you have a right to life. Like nobody has the right to take it without reason, like, and good reason.
Yeah. I would indeed agree. Anybody else?
I think it would be interesting to sit down one day, maybe with like a group of everybody, and just like kind of run through like scripturally what we would think rights to be, like what we could say, like, you know, for example, like what the two that we just talked about.
I would absolutely agree. Yeah, I would agree. I think that's probably the strongest you could come from. That's what I would mean, or like a right. It's you could argue that's also an obligation as well. For there to be rights, obligations have to be met. So that's like the Ten Commandments: "You shall not murder." That obligation has to be met in order for that right to be actualized.
So then the question would be, like, if we're talking about this from the perspective of God, is God obligated to give us this thing then?
No. Now that's a different question. No.
So, but I would take it to be the case that in some cases, it's not an obligation to us, but an obligation to his nature, right? Because, like, God can't lie.
Yes.
That would be against his nature, right? So, like, if he were to say guarantee something, my argument would be that it is an obligation. However, it's not an obligation to us, it's an obligation to himself and to his nature.
Yeah. To answer the question in the comments, it's the common Euthyphro problem. Goodness is God. God is goodness. So he can't, like as he said, he can't go against his nature. That's the comments down there. Very common question, the Euthyphro problem. anybody else. This is the last live for this year for me. I'm not going to go live until the next year, New Year.
What?
Yeah, I'm gonna have friends over.
Almost a whole month without Protect?
I haven't been live really the last few weeks, probably like 2 or 3 times.
So when God commands death, is it good? What? Well, you're gonna have to explain that more. Down in the comments.
Yeah.
I think I know where you're headed with it, and like I can give the argument for times God did order, you know, things.
Oh, you mean like when they were like sacrificing their children?
No, I think where they're headed with this is like, so, like in the Old Testament, I think it was the Canaanites.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, where he said go in and wipe out every man, woman, child, and even their, like their animals, their livestock.
Yeah.
I think that's where they're headed with it. And if that's the case, what you have to understand is that that would actually have been justice, because those people were living in sin and doing things that were directly against God's laws. So this would be like defense, like, or not defense, but like justice principle, right? And we do see that there is biblical, yes, because what you have to understand too is, so the Canaanites, for example, they were giants. So these would be the offspring of fallen angels and human women, which would have corrupted their DNA. So they would not have been innocent. So this would have been justice. God never intended for the DNA of angels and of man to mix. So they would not have in fact been innocent, even as infants. And there is strong principles for justice in the Bible. You know, I would actually have to look that up, but I would say it would probably be a similar thing, that it would be a case of justice rather than yeah, like, and even at that, like, so if we take it to be the case that God is the arbiter of life, then like you can't really say that God is a murderer, because God knows our time and he decides what time we have. So if he chooses to take us at a certain point, like being the arbiter, this wouldn't be murder. This is just the natural way of things, right?
Well, the thing is, the point that I was trying to say is, are we even entitled to these lives? These lives are gifts, are they not?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guess an example, if I were to give you $20 every single day, and that's because of my generosity, I can stop giving you that $20
Yeah.
at any point, because I'm not obligated to give you this. I'm just doing this because I'm generous.
Yeah, and that wouldn't make you evil for stopping giving me the $20. Yeah, like I hear this all the time, especially like, you know, people talk about, say, like the flood, like, oh, well, you know, wiped out. Well, there was a lot of things in that, but even if we just boiled it down to what I was saying about their, you know, their DNA being corrupted, like, he has the right to give and take life, right? Because he's the creator. They are gifts. And, you know, we don't know what his plan is. God has a plan for everything. So, you know, there's a lot of people I've heard, like, they've had, say, like a miscarriage or something, and they're really angry with God for that. But, you know, we don't know what God's plan is. Maybe the reason that he took them home at that point was because, you know, it served a purpose to bring someone to salvation. Or maybe they, you know, weren't ready for it You know, I mean, there's so many things that we don't know what God's plan is and what his purpose is.
I view it differently. I'd say these things, the reason why these things happen is because of the fall.
Well, I would
And
agree too. I said allow them to happen. I believe. If I didn't, let me correct myself. Allow.
things wouldn't happen if the fall didn't occur. This is an indication of the fallen world.
Mhm.
Why God allows it, we don't know, but it's the suffering that we have is not part of God's original.
Right. No,
Um,
we were designed actually, and this is something that, like, we can see this in science, right? According to the way that our bodies are designed and stuff, they are designed to replenish themselves completely. I think it's like I want to say like 38 or 39 days, completely replenish all the cells in your body. I mean, I could be wrong on the time frame, but we're designed to completely replenish our cells and stuff. We were never designed to die. There was literally something that was like switched off or on in our DNA, or that after the fall that made it to where we do pass away.
Again, not part of God's original design. This is I was on my journey. This is a problem I had to critique. If you have to understand why suffering exists and these things from this worldview. It's not part of God's original design, obviously. Um, he did create the world to be perfect, but obviously it's corrupted. Um, so yes, there's that.
Are you playing a video game or something?
Yes, I am.
I thought I heard like a controller in the background.
I'm also streaming on Twitch at the same time too. So yeah, I thought I might go live a little bit because again, it was the last live of the year, and then when I
Sorry about my
return,
dogs.
yeah, when I return, there will be a formal debate again with Genesis once again. Probably his toughest debate yet.
Yeah, I like Genesis.
Yes, I do too.
I've kind of reached my limit with Meatball though.
Yeah, I've spoken to her many, many times. There's like no way of changing her position. I
Well,
think.
yeah, and that's where I've finally come to. It's not that like she's made me angry. It's just a matter of like I don't see the point in debating her anymore because she'll unalive on incredibly like absurd hills, and you would think that after doing that so many times somebody would be like, well, I need to change this up, and it's always the same argument, and like I'm just at a point like there's no point to it anymore.
It makes you question: is this really real life? Do these people actually believe this, or they are just saying for the debate?
So like I thought for a long time that Beatball was really good faith when I was just getting into debating and stuff. I will give her credit where credit's due. She definitely helped me to like learn debate and to learn to polish my position. I mean, even within our last encounter, right? However, I tend to believe because she doesn't change her position to any degree, that is substantial. I think I take it to be the case that it's more of a entertainment thing for her. Like to me, I would say she's closer to like Philbro status.
Yes.
But I think that there are a lot of people on here that is the case, that they don't necessarily believe what they're saying. They're here to win an argument rather than to like have a like true life-changing discussion or debate, right? And for me, when I find out that someone is that way, I just take it to be the case that I should do what the scripture says, and I dust off my feet and I move on.
Yeah, that's if I find it out, it is an automatic drop from the panel. I have no intention of engaging with these people because their minds are set. There's no point in getting to them. They're some of the most irritating people on the app. That's why I don't like Phil Bros. And when I mean Phil Bro, I know the term is tossed around left and right, but like
Right.
I don't like these people. Not only is their position morally bankrupt, it's not a genuine position, right? This is an
Sure.
ego trip, right? Like, haha, I made you look stupid, haha, haha. It's like,
Yeah, they're here for the gotcha moments and everything, and like I've gotten to where like when I debate someone, especially that I've never debated before, I'll tell them, hey, you might get me in a situation where I don't have an answer, but you can be sure that the next time we meet, I will. And like I'm not here for gotcha moments. I'm here because I'm actually trying to change the world, right? So like if the only thing that you're interested in is just arguing for the sake of argument, I'm not the person to talk to.
yeah,
Because like once I figure that out about you, like I haven't actually started doing debate panels because of the job that I have at the moment, but when I do get into a job that will allow me to be more consistent with like scheduling, I plan on doing debate panels and such, and there are already people. I have a list here that like they'll never be on my panel
oh,
because I know what they're about.
absolutely.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, I mean, I think that there's what really disgusts me is I think that there are some that do it for entertainment, but I do believe that there are. I would say it's probably half and half that go around and they do these things because they truly believe it.
Yeah.
And they're the type of person that like I was on a panel recently where this one girl, her name was Brittany, destroyed her position, just literally destroyed it. And like 2 days later, I went into another live, and like she conceded, and was like, yeah, I've got some things to think about. But I go into a panel 2 days later in a different live, and she's up on panel saying the exact same things, and like pushing it, and it's like, wait, we had this discussion, you conceded, and like I think that there's some of them because of their trauma, they cannot bring themselves to admit that it's wrong, and so they just go around trauma dumping. They have to defend it because if they don't, then they have to face what they did.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's probably why a lot of people do it. And that's
sure.
probably that's probably the second reason why people support it. The first reason we obviously know is just an excuse to, get your rocks on and not have
Sure.
but yeah.
Well, I mean, you're engaging in hookup culture, right? Which I would say is a terrible thing. What I had an argument recently with someone protecting. It cracked me up. So this gal was like, I argued her into a corner, and she was like, "Well, fine. I say we go ahead and do it, but then I also say that like, if a woman gets pregnant, that men should have to pay child support from the time of like the positive pregnancy test."
Yeah.
And she really thought she like got me with that, and I just started laughing. I was like, "Hey, don't threaten me with a good time. That sounds like an amazing idea." And she's like, "Huh?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, because it'd make men be responsible. Like, they wouldn't be hooking up with 10 gals a month, because you get 3 baby mamas and you're having to pay child support. That's gonna hurt." And number two, it would encourage them to actually marry the women that they impregnate, so that they don't have to pay child support. Like, I was like, yeah, I think this is an excellent idea. And she was just like, it was one of those hilarious moments because she like really thought she had a gotcha moment, and was like, and I pulled her teeth, and like she had no idea what to say.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I don't want to make this into a left versus right kind of thing. And I'm not Republican, right? But it's weird that like a lot of like Democrats, when those bills are being shot down, right? I'm not sure if there is a state that actually has child support from conception. I'm not sure if there is, but there have been bills that have been passed, right? But whenever this is passed, it seems to be the case. It's always shot down by Democrats, because they have to
Yeah.
acknowledge if you give it child support, it is indeed a child.
Yeah, I think that's probably the, like, part of it. But, like, I think also, too, is that, I mean, in some respects, I agree that men are not held to account. And I think that there are a lot of men, and I would even say that they would be pro-choice men who would be like, no way, man, because, again, like, this would bring accountability. And I think that, if you want to have abortion legal, right, I think that's a good part of that is they don't want accountability. And so the idea of, like, paying child support before they're born would be, again, I don't want the accountability.
People want...
And just to rib you a little bit, I'll forgive you for not being Republican.
Yeah, I would say that, in my opinion, I would say they're really the same. Just one of them is more extreme. I'm just, I mean, look, no side is going to get your morals 100% completely correct.
Right.
You have to go who's the closest, but
you know me, I've got to rib you when I can, dude.
Yeah. I think, people like the benefits of being an adult, but then being infantilized. I get to do whatever I want,
Well, yeah, and I mean, I think too, like, what? Yo, apparently I'm up because of my Uber I made when I was, or user I made when I was 11.
Come up, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I'm so confused, dude, and like...
Oh, you mean like on your social media account? I don't know what that means.
Yeah, so my Instagram, my TikTok, a lot of, like, I think even when I had Snapchat, it was all Connie Bonnie 88, and because of the 88 in my name, apparently I'm
Lord.
a Schnazi now.
Oh, Lord. People are so dumb.
Yeah, I didn't even know what that was until I got into TikTok debates.
You know what's funny? So it's been a while ago, but I like went into this live. It was like, why are YT people so mad or something like that was the like thing, right? And I went in there and like, I never even got to say anything other than to like respond to questions. And they were like, so are you YT? And I'm like, well, yeah, obviously my picture shows that. And then they were like, are you a Christian? And I'm like, yeah. And they were like, are you patriotic? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, so you're a white Christian nationalist, you're a racist, and like dropped me immediately. I'm like, what?
I can't stand it when people can't have like logical conversations with you just because either you're white or you're Christian or your political beliefs.
I think she's there. Where's Rolly?
Well, it's a way to shut down a conversation because they can't defend their own belief.
Yeah, I was just on a panel and he said, and the prompt was, why did God make such a bad Bible? And I was like, well, God didn't write the Bible. So he's like, well, then you should just go atheist. I'm like, I feel like God remains consistent throughout
every Bible. It's just the man-made, parts of it that sometimes aren't consistent. They contradict themselves a lot. I don't think God ever contradicts himself in the Bible.
Well, I would just say, like, they would have to show me these contradictions, right? So, like, I've used a King James Version Bible. I've used New International Standard, or NIS. I've used an NIV. However, from like 1984 on, I won't touch an NIV because of what happened within the organization that writes the NIV, Zondervan, the big producer of it. But I currently use a CSB, which is a Christian Standard Bible. However, like, I can put almost every one of those side by side, and they say exactly the same things, and there's no contradiction within them. Like, I had a science teacher at one point that was like, so how many, like, it was talking about the, like, when they went to see Jesus, like, to go to his tomb or whatever, and he wasn't there. Well, one account says that there was, like, one angel, one says there was two, and I can't remember what the other account said. And he was like, so yeah, your Bible has contradictions. And I was like, it concerned me. So I really dug into it, and what it is, in that case, is it's not a contradiction. It's like, if there's a car accident and there's, like, you, me, and Protect standing around, right? We're all going to see different things. Protect may see something that I didn't see. Like a person I didn't see, right? Or, you might see something different than I did. But it's all the same account. It's not a contradiction. It's a matter of perspective. And that's what I had to show them, is like, no, this isn't a contradiction. This is three different people's perspectives of the same account.
Well, and that's why when the Gospels were written, they're written by 4 different men, and they all have different accounts of what happened. A lot of it aligns, but they all have different accounts of what happened while Jesus was alive.
Actually, there was more than 4. I mean, if you're talking about the 4 main Gospels in the New Testament,
the 4 that
yes.
are in the Bible, yeah.
If you're talking, if you include, like, the Old Testament and the smaller books, even within the New Testament,
just the Gospels. I think she meant.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
There's like 66 authors to the Bible.
Yeah, well, and they tried saying that.
Or maybe it's 40 some, and there's 66 books. I get it confused. I'm sorry.
We would say a different amount, but different story for another day.
Well, they said God contradicts himself in the Bible, and I said, well, where does he do that? And they're like, well, he contradicts himself when apparently in the Old Testament he changed his mind about unaliving a ton of people, a group of people. But then later in the Bible it says that God never changes his mind.
Oh, I know what they're talking about. I have an idea what they're talking about. I have an idea.
Yeah, and they couldn't, like, read the verse to me, and, like, all they did was give me the verses, but I was like, well, could you read them to me? And they just stated it off of, like, what they thought that it was saying.
Yeah, so I would take it to be the case that in that they were more than likely, a few things were happening. They were taking things out of context.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that I see among Christians, and non-believers, but way more among non-believers, obviously. But if you don't understand proper hermeneutics, which is like how to read the Bible in the context, so like knowing things like the political context, the actual like audience that it was for, right? These kind of things, you're going to come to the wrong conclusion. So like half of Acts is written to the Jewish people. It was never meant for the Gentiles. But, you know, if you don't know that, then you come to all these wrong, like, conclusions.
Yeah, and I don't know what version of the Bible this guy was reading because number one, me personally, I tell people when they come up on my panels, I'm like, I really feel like you can't say you're atheist and then try to use our Bible against us because you just don't believe it and you don't read it the same, you know, you just don't understand it the same, things like that.
Yeah, and like here's the thing, right? Without salvation and without the Holy Spirit, the unsaved person, the most they can ever see in the Bible is
hey guys, illogical here. 18 years of age. Would you like? Oh wait, this is a Christian live. Sorry, I thought this was pro-life, pro-choice. My bad.
I mean, we talk about that stuff, but I'll just finish up real quick. So, anyways, what I was saying is for someone who's not, who hasn't, you know, doesn't have salvation, doesn't have the Holy Spirit, the best that they can hope to get out of the Bible is a literary understanding, unless the Holy Spirit steps in and is speaking to them and calling them to Christ and reveals something to them. But once you have the Holy Spirit, then it becomes alive. You know, the words come to life, and you can, like, I've tried to explain this to people. There are scriptures like that would seem to only have like one meaning, but when you really look at them in context, there's oftentimes double and triple meanings to like a scripture.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. I'd say like an atheist and even like a modern idea of a Christian. They have a preconceived idea or a belief of something, and they just say, I'm just gonna Google verse that this, you know, it's like confirmation bias, basically. I'm just gonna Google random verse from the Bible that agrees with my position. Like, okay, like, you know, the judging, you shall not judge verse, supposedly.
Like Mambo number 5, right? Numbers 5?
Yeah.
I call it Mambo number 5.
I thought it was funny because we know in the Old Testament, right? They say in the Old Testament, you know, a woman and a man should not get a divorce, right? But when Jesus came, you know, Jesus said, well, you can get a divorce, you're just not allowed to remarry, and these are the certain stipulations for a divorce. And then apparently Paul said that God told him that woman and man are not allowed to get a divorce.
Hey, Connie, do you want the pro-choice argument?
That's why we Catholics are correct and everybody else is wrong.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm a Protestant, and that's a Catholic argument. I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's a Catholic argument, being remarried or that kind of thing.
Yeah, we don't believe in divorce, so we got it right.
Protect, we're not going to get into this today.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into it,
but... Protect, I love you.
Yeah. That's one of our contentions. We don't believe
it. Hey, since we have somebody on panel, let's go ahead and get, like, you said you were 18?
Yeah.
Well, I know who Illogical is. He's pro-life.
I know who he is, too.
I have a pro-choice argument.
That's why I don't want to engage in
You guys cannot defeat the pro-choice argument.
No LARPing, no LARPing.
Is it, did you talk to, It's a Parasite and use her, is that your argument now?
No, my argument is way better than that. I actually have 2, but one of them is a troll argument. I'm not going to give you the troll argument. Well, I actually have 3. Two of them are troll arguments.
Well, this is technically a troll argument.
No LARPing, and also don't bring up that person ever again.
Wait, this will be quick, Protect. It'll be quick, I promise.
Who bring up who? Me bring up a certain person, or
yeah, it's a Parasite. They're bad. They're a very bad person.
Oh, okay.
Like, very bad. I can't say it here, maybe on Discord, but they are a very bad thing they did.
Oh, wow. I apparently don't know.
Yeah. Alright. This is the last live of the year, so I'm probably going to go for like maybe 10 more minutes. I don't know.
Last live of the year? What? We have 2 more weeks of December.
I'm going to be really busy. I'm not going to be hosting lives. Got family over. I'm not going to be hosting
lives. He messaged me and said, I don't like you anymore and I don't want to be around you. And I have to
don't take it that
from you.
far. Don't take it that far.
So yeah, it's all because of me. It's my fault.
Looks like Griff dipped.
Yeah.
Fine.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, you better.
Yeah, so anytime you LARP, would that just be like bad faith automatically?
If you like purposely go into a live and pretend that like I understand iron sharpens iron, I understand that, but I don't like that. It's like we have some people we're actually trying to convince, and then you do stuff like that. Like I don't like
yeah,
that.
and I mean, I would say that depending, it could be dangerous.
Yeah,
Like,
personally, I don't like learning from pro-choicers. Personally, I don't like when I meet a pro-lifer that decides they're going to, pretend to be pro-choice. I don't like when people come on my lives and they're like, "Oh, we have nobody in here to debate us, so let's 1v1 this person and this person. We're both pro-life, but I'll take the pro-choice stance." I can't do it.
Yeah, I don't like doing that.
If I have, say, like, all right, for example, so where Meatball did get me in the last, argument that we had, where I really didn't have the right comebacks or whatever, was like, I said that, in the case, I take it to be the case that in eviction, you would have to give a reasonable amount of time for someone to evacuate, right? And what they gave me, oh, okay, have a good night, Connie. What she gave me, she was like, well, what's the argument for that? And I said, this would be like the natural amount of time that it takes for them to evacuate it. Huh?
That's departurism. That's like the inverse of eviction.
Right. And she was like, so you're appealing to nature. And like, so I didn't really have a good argument for that. Like, she was like, oh, so you're appealing to nature. And
Can I chime in really quick based off of what you guys are talking about? Is that based on the prompt and what I'm hearing is Christianity the best argument for moral rights existing?
Yeah.
And like I feel like even if you talk to atheists and certain groups of people, when you go back to the 10 Commandments and don't use like the old school language, but thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not cheat, thou shalt not lie,
yeah,
which
if
is
you
bear
said you
false
shouldn't,
witness.
you shouldn't steal or murder or
Yeah, I'm sorry if I didn't say it right. I'm sorry. You
well, no,
should
you said you
have
didn't want to go to the old language. I was just saying.
But like
instead
I feel like if you talk to people that like even like if you come to atheists or people that just don't agree with you, they would agree with you that murdering or schmurdering, I'm so sorry, schmurdering is not okay. They would agree that raping is not okay. They agree that lying is not okay. Stealing is not okay. You like, and I feel like some of the 10 Commandments kind of like roll into others, like thou shalt not covet, which I think
they
relates to thou shalt
absolutely
not
do.
steal. That thou shalt not steal.
Well,
Thou shalt
Scripture
and thou
says-
shalt be a good neighbor, which I think
Well,
that
to
the
what you were
best thing
saying
in life
about-
is having a good neighbor.
Yeah, so to what you were saying about them like rolling into each other, they absolutely do. Scripture says
a lot
that
of
if you
atheists-
break one, you break them all.
Well, I also feel like if you have to argue with someone that doesn't, like an atheist, about moral rights and existing Christianity, if you can get them to agree that a few of the 10 Commandments are correct, and not in necessarily like, oh, do you believe do you believe that schmurdering is wrong? They say, yes, I agree that's wrong. Do you believe that stealing is wrong? They say, yes, that's wrong. Do you believe that lying is wrong? They say, yes, that's wrong. And then, it's like leading them down a rabbit hole. But like, I also feel like if you can establish common grounds with people that disagree with you on a certain very common issues, they will agree with you on a lot more when you get to that rolling down the hill.
The whole point, like, are you entitled, like, for example, stealing, are you entitled to your property because the government says so, or are you entitled morally?
I am of the grounds that I'm entitled morally. I don't believe in government comes above God and
Yeah.
rights. But like again, I'm going to sit here and say I'm from America, and we really have a really hard argument right now that people are saying that our rights come from God and people say our rights come from government. However, a constitution is written that our rights are ordained by God, because America was built, like, as much as other people want to disagree, America was built in Christianity. And
So outside of God, I do not believe rights exist. And my reasoning for this, right, is because in order for something to be a right, it has to be an entitlement, a guarantee, right? So if you look at it from the perspective of it has to be enforceable in order to be a right, like we can say we have the right to property, but is this truly the case? Like our right to property, like if, say, like going back to, you know, like when people were coming out west, for example, and there wasn't really the infrastructure of law and stuff that we have now. Like, let's say I had a right to this parcel of land because I purchased it, all right, or I homesteaded it. If a group of people came along and murdered me and my entire family and took it, did I have the right to it, really? I would say no.
so I would imagine that are you talking about colonization, or are you talking about immigration? Because
I'm
you're talking
talking
about
about
like
forced doctrine.
I went into this
So,
this
so
bit
I
of
believe
land,
that. So I believe in order
and
for a right to be a right, you have to apply the force to make it a right. Right?
okay,
So like
so in
if
America, that's like America. Like, okay, so when it comes to countries being built on, you know, Christianity, Catholicism, or Protestants, I would feel like Britain or UK, and America is kind of built the most that way. And we've like,
right, but that's
and
because we have the government to enforce those laws. What I'm
well, but
saying,
we also fought wars. We also had, like, not on
sure,
top of fighting wars. We had we
that would
separated, we colonized. It's
sure, but
like,
that would still go back to force doctrine. You had the force to make it real. Okay? Like
okay, but
for
so you're
example,
saying forced in America. There's a lot of examples that American colonization was not forced. We bought and we traded the
no,
land.
you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, so even on colonized land, right? If I bought a parcel of land and someone decided that they were going to take it away from me, right? And like when we were homesteading and things of this nature, if they could run me out of town or they murdered my family, then I didn't really have the right to it because I couldn't enforce that right.
Well, that's the thing
Well,
about what.
that's context and setting, though.
Well,
What
that's
is
the
the
thing.
context and what's the setting?
Well, that's the
Like,
thing about.
I'm sorry. I
Well,
apologize, the host. I'm sorry.
well, hold on. When you take it back to Meatball's position, that's the thing about her position, right? Is that is evictionism a moral right or is it a legal right? Because if I put into the law that actually, yeah, I can stay in your property against your will, then what? What do you do then?
We have that with landlord tenant laws.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I don't see that's the thing. Like, evictionism, is this a moral right or is this a legal right? Are you saying you have the right to property because the government says so, or do you have this right to property? Like, if we lived in like a tropical island that had no concept of laws, and I've asked Meatball this question many times, right? Do you have a right to your property? Like, okay, I show up at your door, I have a right to your property. Okay, I don't care. I can just say I have a right to your property too. I can just take it from you.
Mm-hmm. That's where I was getting to.
And well, I disagree with the fundamentals of what you're trying to say, because, like, again, I'm going back to America and how America was built originally. If you want to go back to the 13 original colonies and everything like that, yes, did we do shady stuff? I can say in history, yes, but overall, when it came to taking properties, especially along the coast, which was pretty much swampland, we bought and traded for those lands initially. And then we established a government, and then I could argue that, yes, shady things probably happened.
Right, I get where you're going, but let me since you're using that as your example, like, okay, so why did we fight the war again, the war for independence, right? Because we believed here that we had certain rights, like the right to representation. And
Well, yeah,
so
the right to representation
right,
without taxation, because
so
we're being
we
taxed for the
fought
French and
so
Indian War.
right, so we fought. This would be the force I was talking about. This is where force doctrine come in. Right? We fought to make this a reality. Had we have lost the war, we would still be under the British government, and we would not have these
Well,
rights that we have. So
not
in order to
necessarily.
have them, well, but what I'm saying, like what I'm trying to get you to understand or see is that in order for rights to exist, they have to be enforced, right? Because if like I could come if like let's pretend for a minute that there were no rights in the United States, right? And I'm this weird person that thinks that I do, and I say I have the right to free speech. I only have the right to that if I can enforce
Well,
it. Like if you
this
throw me
is
in jail, obviously I don't have the right to say what I want to say.
this is the biggest problem when it comes to the American independence and the Revolutionary War, is that the British was an empire at that time. We were a thorn in their side across the pond. We were really far to get to. They couldn't really get to us very easily, and they had a lot of more established routes into India, into Africa, and other parts of Eastern and Western Europe. In Africa, if you look at the coastline, Egypt for the longest time was a empire of Europe. America was a thorn in their side. We were really far away from them. They did not want to deal with us. And if you realize in the Revolutionary War, they did surrender to us. However, they asked for them to not be excluded economically from America. Like, hey,
Yeah.
after this, like, you guys can have your thing, but we still want to trade with you guys because you guys got a lot of good fruits and tobacco and a lot of good stuff over there. Like, we will give you guys your things, but please do not, if we
Right.
surrender in this war, exclude us from trading with you. We'll give up. We'll stop if you just trade with us, because it was
Right.
more economically feasible for them to just trade with us than
Me,
fight
I'm
with
gonna
us.
shoot you.
Well, that's one way of putting it, or pew pew you. But yeah, what do you think about the prompt, Dale?
Ending soon. This is.
Oh, sorry. The previous one was. I wasn't even paying attention. The previous one was. What is Christianity the best argument for moral rights existing? You know what that
Yeah,
means?
it's the only argument.
Oh, okay.
There's no other view that can account for it coherently.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I don't see how you would say you have any entitlements without God.
Yeah,
Right.
I had there's a spat going on in the intactivist groups I'm in because I didn't want to justify trans rights while justifying anti-circumcision rights, and I just left the group chat. It's like I'm
Wait,
here to talk about
anti-circumcisions on men?
yeah, and women. I'm not like gonna make women.
Go ahead. No, I understand, but it's more common amongst men. So I'm just,
In
like,
America,
especially in America.
Yeah, in America.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just making sure I heard you correctly, so I could understand.
Well, the reason I bring that up
illegal?
is because the guy arguing with me was a secular humanist, and he just he's always picking a fight with me.
Of course.
Dale, I apologize. I don't know you, but what do you mean by a secular human?
Secular humanism is a movement that tries to ground morality in a completely secular thing. But their whole thing is that their argument for secular humanism is just stating their proposition over and over as their justification of morality.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't
Like
work.
Well,
when
I
you try
apologize.
to
Can you
argue
just
them.
define, I guess, just the word secular? I'm sorry. Like, I think, like, what you just said, I didn't follow.
Yeah, so secular just meaning non-religious, and humanist being this idea that humanity comes above all else or something. So secular humanism is this movement that they believe they can ground morality and ethics simply on the fact that they're human and they like that they're human. This is philosophically not grounded in anything. It's just grounded in their feelings and not in any actual philosophical basis for any of these feelings.
Do you know what just to kind of further build on his point, do you know what the New Age movement is?
Yes. Yeah.
I was
Oh,
talking to, I can't quite read their name.
bickering. I think bickering. Yeah.
Bickering?
Yes, just call me back.
Okay, so Beck, like, to further ground what he's saying, so a non-secular humanist could be someone that would be, say, into, like the New Age movement. It is like a religious movement, but it is
Mhm.
based in humanism.
Yeah.
Okay, so and again, I want to clarify, Dale, like, because I always like viewed calling someone a secular human as like they're second, like below me because they don't agree with what I agree with. I'm not
Well,
saying you
no,
said that.
I think you're hearing
That's why I
second.
asked. No,
I
no,
think you're hearing
that's why I asked.
secondary.
Well, I understand what
Yeah.
you said. That's why I asked you to clarify at least 2 times because I wasn't too
Yes,
sure,
yes.
and then
We're
yes,
just
you
making
clarified
sure.
it. I want to make
Yes.
sure that was clear.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like the thing that I always like, like when I'm talking to someone, like the thing about it is in the humanist movement, right? The only possible like thing, like there's people I'll talk to that are atheists, which atheists are actually humanists, or they're into humanism or whatever, and the God of humanism, in the absence of God, is man. And so basically what he's saying with this guy is that they base their morality on what their thing is, in essence making them their own god. And so the problem with this though is that also I find it to be the case that the majority of them have subjective morality. So like going back to something you said earlier about getting them to agree that, like, would you say that Schmurder is wrong? Initially, they might very well say, yes, I agree that it is. But when you press them on it, like you give them, say, this hypothetical where, like, would it be morally permissible for me to unalive one person to save, a million? They would say, well, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, most of them are utilitarians, so they would have to
Well,
die in the hell.
I was trying to say that if you had to base a foundation of a point, like degrees that we can agree with, and you have to build that with a conversation with someone that just fundamentally disagrees with you, I meant that as a way to start with. Can we all agree that if
Yeah.
any of us schmurdered, murdered Schmittler, say, like, if we all just, got rid of that individual, would it saved 10 million, individuals in the Holocaust, and how many other individuals in World War II? I don't think anyone here, atheist or whatever, would say, I would pray for you. It's not a problem. I don't think you would be going to Schmel for doing that.
Well, the thing is that the secular humanist doesn't have a grounding to say that what Hitler did was wrong. Schmittler.
Yeah.
Okay, but my whole thing is that if you can found, like, I don't know you, Dale, you don't know me. However, if me and you just discuss and we agree that these 3, 4, 5 points are wrong, like, hey, this is wrong, Schmurder's wrong, raping is wrong, lying is wrong, and then we have that foundation of a debate, because you and I debate that apples are the most healthiest fruit in the world. I'm just using that as
Vic,
an
I think
example.
I would surprise you though, because if you said, would it have been permissible to schmurder Hitler, right?
I meant
would
that in the
say no.
hypothetical.
I would say no.
I meant that in the high. Okay, but again, I meant that in the hypothetical.
Right,
That
yeah, I get where you're
had
going.
the
I'm just saying.
if we had the opportunity, if he was in our living room right now and we knew it was coming,
Yeah,
I
would
know
still
we'd sit
say-
here and have some theological discussion about, oh, what did he do for the world? He pushed us into the iron, or he just pushed America into a super huge economic boom. We could argue all
like
those little
my
facets.
argument wouldn't be from that. It would be from a morality standpoint. The morality, just because you would know, right? So just because you would know that somebody was going to do something, to preemptively, like, take them out would still be morally, like, wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. I see. I know that we could sit here and argue about the effects that they had on the world, but
So now,
however,
like,
I just
for
don't think
example,
that if
though, if you
anyone
were to
had,
change that hypothetical to say, like, the minute that they, schmurdered the first person, like, could we take them out? Then I would be like, absolutely. You know, um, this would be the protecting of other people. This would be justice, right? Because, like, so I don't know if there's a movie, I can't remember what it's called,
well,
but they
okay,
they
so in World
basically
War
can look
One,
into the future and see what, like, these crimes that people commit, and they go
uh-huh.
and they arrest them before they actually do these crimes. Like, I would take it to be the case that if this was real, like in that movie, that would be wrong.
Well, take it
Because
the other way. Take it the other way. There was a World War One officer in the British Army. I apologize, I do not know his name, but he documented. And I don't ask me to quote the source, but I remember watching it in the 2014 documentary where he had Schmittler. I don't know if I can say that name, but Schmittler in his sights on bullet, like he could have
mm-hmm.
done him right then and there. In World War II, I think it was 1918, and because he was by himself, because he was one of the messengers, he was running across lines being a messenger, he let him go because he's by himself. He didn't have his arm, his weapon, like he wasn't armed. Like, it's not that he didn't have his weapon on him. He wasn't armed, like running around trying to, like he was delivering messages. And he was like, if I had taken that shot, World War II would have been very, very different.
Sure.
I disagree. I don't think it wouldn't have happened. I think it still would have happened because there are other members of the Third Reich who still would have wanted to
Right,
enact.
I agree with you,
What
Protect.
I was
I do
See,
think,
I
however, it would
disagree.
have
I
been
disagree with
different.
you on that because, like, Hitler started the Third Reich, and Schmittler.
Sure.
I'm sorry. I apologize to the host if I said that the wrong way. Schmittler actually joined the German Socialist Party after World War One because they wanted him to spy on what was going on in this party,
So,
and then he joined and he agreed with what they were saying, and then he changed it into the Schmachmies parties, and
yeah,
he
but
kind of
like,
joined them.
so, like, let me put it this way, right? Like, the idea that would have ended it, I agree with Protect. I disagree with you, though, because here's, like, the thing, right? Like, we could take a different thing, like the triple certain letter people, right? With the
Yeah.
white things, right? So, like, if we would have, say, taken out the leader that started that, do you think that movement would not have went where it went? I think it absolutely would have, because there were a multitude of people that had the same ideology, and that's why I would argue that it would have, like, I agree with you in that it would have been
Well,
a different
ideology
war,
wasn't
but I
as
think
sharp.
that the ideology would have remained, and that someone else would have basically taken his place. Now, would it have
Timeline
resulted
wise,
in?
do you think
Would
that
it
would
have
have been the same
resulted in
timeline
the kind of
wise?
war that it ended up being?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think
But
the damage probably wouldn't have been as bad, but I think it's kind of I don't believe that nobody had these beliefs prior to him getting in power. I
right,
think there are people who had the same opinions as him, and their reality was actualized when he got into power. But I think there were other people who
sure.
shared his beliefs.
Yeah,
But
and I would
I
just say
disagree
that,
with that because he took over he actually took over a party, like a small party. Like, it's not the same in America, but like in Canada and
right,
other where you have a bunch of
I think
parties, he
what you're
took
not
over a party. They
understanding.
actually did a coup and try and take over the government at the time,
Sure, but
and
what I
that's
think
what
you're
they
not
got. Like,
understanding, though, right, is that bad actors are going to be bad actors, and even if he would have been taken out at that time, he would have still had time to gather bad actors, and those bad actors would in turn have gathered more. Like, you can't totally put, like, it all on him. Like, there was
well, no, but he became a rock star
Heimlich,
after the
like
coup.
Heimlich. I always want to call him Heimlich. I don't think that's right, but Himmlich or
Himmler.
Heimlich or whatever.
I was about to say it right. So, like, if it wasn't
Yeah.
because of the Austrian painter, I don't think Heinrich Himmler would have been the leader of the SS, right? But he still would have had he still would have had these views.
Yeah.
These eugenics and these views, hadn't had the Austrian painter not been in power. I still think the war would have still existed. I still think the Third Reich would still exist.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, you do guys really realize that Adolf Hitler was a rejected artist in World War I? So did you say you're like talking about the artist?
Yeah,
You said
I know.
Heimlich. Okay.
Yeah, I know, but like the Third Reich would still exist. Maybe the damage would have been as severe as it would actually happen, but the thing that like he invented these ideologies and nobody else had these views. Here's when I see it, right? In a Third Reich, I think there's like three groups of people, right? There's the people who are forced into believing it, right? That's one group. There's the people who were brainwashed into believing this, right? And then there's a third group. There's the people who believed in what he was saying, like before he even got into power, or they were waiting for him to basically bring their realities to fruition.
Well, and like to kind of go off of what you're saying there too, Protect, like, so the group that I brought up, that's like American born, right? The way that you get people to do these kind of things, right, is you have to speak to beliefs they already have. You have to make them believe that they are victims, and you have to also make them believe that in doing this thing, they're going to not only make their situation better, but their like country better, right? So, like, so the way that this was done with the one group was, well, it's all the certain people, certain colors, skins, like the reason why we have these problems. And then like in Germany, it was, well, the Jews own everything. They're the rich people. There's people like that are starving, and they're so terrible because they won't help, and so there was a group of them, absolutely, that were like, yeah, we agree with this, we believe this, and they would have kept pushing for that. I mean, that's why we still see, like, to a very small extent, because we've made it illegal, and when we find out that they're like doing stuff that's illegal beyond just spreading rhetoric, like, this is why we have seen the destruction of the group that I mentioned, but they still exist.
Well, to bring it back, way back, the secular humanist, he wouldn't even be able to actually give me a concrete, coherent reason as to why we could even agree that Schmurder's bad, Schmittler did wrong, and all those things. They'd be able to agree with me. Yeah, sure, I don't think that XYZ is good, but they wouldn't be able to tell me a coherent reason why.
Yeah, I mean, if their worldview is correct, if you did evolve from animals, what is so wrong about abusing people for our own benefits, just like every other animal in the animal kingdom? I don't see how you can come to this conclusion that anybody is wrong if you believe in this.
Wait, what did you say?
I said, if secular humanism is true, right, how can you come to the conclusion that any of these things are wrong? If we did evolve from animals, right, why is it wrong to abuse other people for our own benefit, just like every other animal in the animal kingdom?
Well, we kind of have laws that we built based off of.
Because we have the laws; those are prescriptive. But how is it that we know what's right and wrong? Like, how do we know to make those laws?
Okay. Well, Dale, I don't know if you're here when I originally joined, but I said, like, based off the Ten Commandments, like, a lot of people, if you just go off of thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not pretty much be a jerk asshole person, we're all good.
Oh yeah. So you believe in God, right?
Yeah, I believe there is a higher authority above all of us. Yes.
We're talking about a worldview called secular humanism where they don't believe in necessarily a god, or at least they're agnostic, and where they believe that we evolved from a common ancestor with chimpanzees however many million years ago, and they believe that our morality comes from within ourselves, but there's no grounding to it.
Okay, but like I also, I'm sorry, I don't really care. We come from secular humanism, whatever your religious belief is that like if you show mercy and compassion and love to the people that do nothing for you, which in my opinion are animals, kids, and the elderly, and I'm gonna also say for men, it's women, people that can do nothing, or individuals that can do nothing for you. That makes
so
you
what
better
you're
in life.
talking about, though, would be what we would call virtue ethics. Like, those things would be virtuous, but are you required to do that?
Okay, but like also secular humanism also gets a thing about ethics, right? Like there's ethics that you have to
that would
agree
be
on.
Yeah, where do they come
And
from?
then that's where I am like, okay, and that's where I say, like, I know that we can't, I'm not going to sit here and say they come from the Ten Commandments. I am saying that if you believe in or secular humanisms, then you could probably agree that raping, lying, schmurdering,
Right, but like as I
stealing.
was pointing out to you earlier, like, and the problem with it, like when you're talking about like a secular humanist, right? You are not going to find a secular humanist, or I would be like blown away if you did, that found one that believed in objective morality. So, like, again, they're going to start out
So
with
you're,
maybe agreeing,
well,
but the problem
you said
is that they're
objective
going to shift.
morality.
Yeah, objective morality. So objective. So in order, so like this is the thing. All right. So you understand gravity, right?
Yeah.
Like this is an objective truth. Okay. It doesn't matter. Like this is mind independent, right? Gravity exists whether I'm there to see it exist. Correct?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. That's objective. So, like, we objectively know that gravity is because, like, it doesn't matter. It's not dependent on us. Subjective means that it is mind dependent. So, the subjectivist would say, when it comes to gravity, that we can't know that gravity exists for sure, and maybe it doesn't. And they would say, like, so this is where I would take you to, like, they would say, in the case of it would be all right to unalive one person to save a million, whereas a moral objectivist would say, this moral is set. It doesn't matter whether, like, me unaliving one person would save a million people. It's wrong, right?
Also, deontologists would also hold that view as well.
Well, CNC, I have a really quick follow-up for you.
Sure.
Do you think that there are people in Africa that listen to music and get lost in music that have never met anyone from America?
It's possibly the case, yes.
Yeah, okay, are there people in America that hear music and think it's beautiful and get lost in music and have never met anyone from Africa? Do you think the same in South America, Russia, India,
Yeah, I
Europe?
don't exactly.
Okay.
I don't exactly know where you're headed with this.
Okay, and like again, when it comes to like the humanism, the secular humanism argument is that that's not all connected. Do you think that people in Africa start a fire, which I feel like everyone has done this, and you stare in that fire and you get lost to sight? You get lost to thought when you're looking at the fire. You want to throw more wood in that fire, and you stare at that fire even more and more and more. And what's crazy about all of that is that happens in every culture, regardless if they have contact with each other.
So, are you asking me like how people that have never met have like same morality, or
I am trying to point that there is a common link to almost every
Sure.
culture
So
across
I
the
would say,
world that has never had contact with each other.
sure. So I would tell you this, right? Again, this would go back to my Christian worldview, right? So the fact that, like, it like most cultures intuitively would know that it would be wrong to say murder someone who hasn't done anything wrong, right? That
Whoa,
would
whoa,
come
whoa,
from
whoa, 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 whoa. Like, okay, so you're taking the context of the argument when I said that if I was dropped in the past and I found Schmittler and I found him and knowing who he was going to become before he committed a couple of his atrocities, like, I'm okay with murdering him before he, like, that is like a really context related situation.
No,
I
I
see,
wasn't
I don't
actually
think that's
talking about that. I
fair.
was trying to. So what you
Okay.
said, like to me, what it sounded like was you were saying that cultures that have had no connection still tend to have similar, like,
Yes, they do.
values, right?
Yes,
So
they do.
okay,
A
so what
lot of
I
them
would
think
take
that
this to
murder is
be,
wrong.
right? So I would take this to be that, right? So like the fact that say most cultures, right,
Hey, CNC, hell, what's even
intuitively
crazy is a
know.
lot of these cultures have dragons, and these cultures have no way of contacting
Sure.
each other, yet they have dragons in their
Sure. Okay.
mythological
So,
backgrounds. Like, it,
so I mean,
that's,
I can give you an argument for that, but I'd like to actually answer what you were asking me. So I would take it to be the case that because say like they know intuitively that murder is wrong, that this is not something that comes from the human, but this comes from God because the scripture says that God writes His law on the hearts
yeah,
of
that's what I
mankind,
said
right?
about the Ten
Now, as far as
Commandments. Yeah.
dragons are concerned, like,
No, I'm just saying, I was just relating the very opposite
sure,
stance
sure.
that there's several
Yeah.
cultures out there
Well,
that have
there's two
dragons.
things with this, right? So, like, one, I believe that there was a time that there was Pangea. I believe at one time there was
Pangea
one God.
existed long before humans did, though.
Sure. The other thing that, as far as dragons are concerned, like when you talk about dragons, what like scripturally, what were dragons? Dragons were dinosaurs, and I'm also I
Well,
believe
no,
in the creation
they
account.
protected them all with wings.
Well,
So
yeah,
Yeah, well, there
some
were dinosaurs that
some
had wings,
dinosaurs had
bro.
wings. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
no, dinosaurs actually did not have wings. They had pterosaurs, which were not dinosaurs, and they had wings. And they
pterodactyls had
actually,
wings.
but they weren't dinosaurs. They lived along dinosaurs and among dinosaurs. They were not
Right, but
classified
I
as
mean, I'm kind of using
dinosaurs.
it as an umbrella term, but with a point that I'm getting at, right, is if we go back in ancient history and we look at, so like some of the sites of the Anunnaki and such, like, there's like a depiction of this guy holding what can only be like a full-grown lion, and he's holding it like a cat. On different temples around the world, we've found like these depictions of what would be like triceratops and such as that, where people were writing them. And I believe in the creation account that's in the Bible, and I believe that there was a time that we walked with dinosaurs, that dinosaurs and man were like in the same time frame, like existed at the same time pre-flood, right? And we actually even have proof of that, where there's been footprints found right next to like fossilized human footprints right along by dinosaur footprints. So like,
Well, I agree, and I can kind of disagree with that because I view time like the one thing we always know that God told us is that we have an infinite life. Infinite has no beginning, no end. And so I view time as secular as a string. So if you take a string and you pile it up on each other, it all matches up in
yeah,
weird
you're talking
spots.
about string
Like,
theory.
yeah, like it all matches up in weird spots and it like connects in weird spots. It doesn't mean they were together at the same time, but there might have been
Well, I
like a.
mean, the string theory is like one example that they use for God being omnipresent, right? Because if you were to take it to be the case that God could move along the stream and that it's lapped over each other, then God could be at any point at any time and even at like the same time.
So,
Well, I view God as the source of us. Like He is our Father. We're an
right.
extension of Him. That's
But
my
like I'm just
like. I know
like
that the Bible might say
string
something else.
theory.
That's my
String theory
opinion.
would say that like we could travel in time too. Like I mean I'm a big sci-fi
No,
fan.
string theory was just that time is connected and there's a veil, and it's not that it says time travel. It's just
Well, I
that
mean,
you
but
can.
like to give you an example, so there is a TV show called Sliders, and
Yep, I
Sliders,
remember that. Hey,
yeah.
I'm a
So it was
millennial. I watched
multiple
it in the mid-90s.
universes, right? It was
That they
multiple
jumped around
universes,
to,
but it was also multiple times. So you could literally go like forward and backwards with on that string and intersect
and they
with
were trying to
other,
get back home.
yeah.
Yep.
So like, and that's all actually within the string theory. Like that was a TV show, but like that's all actually packed into the string theory. I'm not saying
Mhm.
like you know, so like I'm just saying those are all packed in there, and it has been something that has been like proposed as a possible way that God can do these things that the Bible says He can do, right?
Yeah, sounds all right.
All right, you guys. I'm gonna let you guys go. I've been holding y'all all hostage, like for so long. I'm gonna apologize. It was a great
Well, it was nice to
conversation. I'm
meet
gonna
you.
let you
Hey, let
guys
me give you
go.
a follow before you leave.
I'll give you one too. I think I
Yeah,
already
it
did.
was a really
But
good,
We
it was
have
a
this
really
sweet
good
one
session. I
more.
enjoyed it.
Oh, we have that one more person. Oh, that's a shame. Yeah. This is the
I'm
last
sorry.
live.
I thought you were going.
Yeah,
So
I am, but this is the last live. I thought someone was in request. This is the last live until the next year.
Request up so he doesn't end. Hurry.
Nah, it's too late now. Maybe Rose request up. They have a lot to say on Discord. A lot to say on Discord. But it's gonna be the last debate until the next year. I'm not even gonna
It
be
was
on
decent
TikTok.
discussion. I
Yeah.
enjoyed her.
Yeah. Yeah, I think secular humanism, like the utilitarian. I think most atheists are utilitarian. Like,
Yeah.
how would they address it? I know it's like a trolley-esque type of problem. Like, what if you had to grape 20 people to stop the grape of 50 other people? Right?
Yeah.
They have to die on that hill. I'm not a
Yeah.
utilitarian. At least not that type of utilitarian.
Well, I mean, I was in a live with BT3 earlier
Oh,
tonight, and we were kind of having this same discussion, like, because like the question that was posed to him was, if you were put in a situation where you had to like grape a 13-year-old to save a million lives, what like what would you do? And he's like, well, he's like, I'm glad you asked that because that's actually where I was gonna go, because we were talking to it trying to think of their name. Anyway, we were talking to another person. There was two of us that were talking to him, and he's like, so that was the question I was actually gonna ask them. And so they're Christian like me, and they said, well, the answer would be, I wouldn't do it. I would not act on anything. Like, I would take no action. And he's like, oh, so you would be responsible for, the million people. And he's like, well, no. And we tried to explain to him that, if you're like using, like running causal, that just because you are put into the chain of the event doesn't make you the causal link. Like, and
you didn't
therefore
do
you would
anything.
not
You're
be
not the reason why those
responsible
people are
for
in
it.
that situation.
Huh?
You're not the reason why those people are in that situation.
Right, yeah. Like, we didn't put him there. I even tried to explain to him, like, it's crazy to me that you would feel responsible, because when you look at it, like, you're a victim, right? So, like, if I come along and I kidnap you and I say you're going to do this, or this many, people are going to unalive, like, you're a victim.
The
Why
person
would
is
you
the
feel?
person is the responsible, not you.
Yeah, I even tried to show, like, if you remove the person from it, like saying putting you in this position where you have to make the choice, right? If we remove that, the plan to do this always existed. So the bad intention and the end result were always going to be the same. It's just I added an extra step to it, right? And I like put you in the position of making the decision. So it wouldn't be like your responsibility. It's on the person that come up with, or the people that come up with this idea and put you into this position, they're the responsible parties, not you. And like we tried to show him morally how this would be the case, and also legally,
Yeah,
and just was not getting it.
I would absolutely agree.
Like, and that's the thing that, like, they have to die on that hill too. Like, they have to say that, you know, under subjective morality, they would have to say, well, then I am at fault. Like, I am responsible for this. Because, like, without objective morality, you have nothing to base it on. And, like, the idea of no, like, the other thing that I always run atheists down is, like, how do you know? Like, by what objective are you measuring these things? Like, how do you know that the morals that you hold to are actually, in fact, like, right? And they'll be like, well, because, and I'm like, okay, but here's the thing: would you agree that there are people that have, like, mental illnesses that their brains don't work right? And they're always like, well, yeah, of course. I'm like, well, how do you objectively know that you're not one of those people? Like, you think everybody's telling you, yeah, you're right, when in truth they're saying, no, this is wrong. Like, how do you know? Like, what objectively do you have to measure this? Like, because in order to know that we are in a sound mind, we have to have something objective to measure against.
Yeah, well, I don't make any. I'm not an expert at epistemology, but like, yeah, it's
Right, but I mean, like, you should look into that. It really helps strengthen the argument, because, like honestly, if they would ask me this, because I've had them turn it on me, and I would say, well, because there is, like, there's God, and his laws are objective. They exist whether I do or not. So for me to know whether I'm in the right mind, I check against, you know, Scripture and God's law to make sure that I'm in line with that, and, like, I can know by that, because it's objective, that, like, I'm in my right mind.
Hello?
Hello, Mr. Jacob.
Hello, brother.
Well, you're talking about the previous prompt I had. Is Christianity the best argument for moral rights existing?
Yeah, I would say it is. Based on what CNC was saying, though, is that they could argue against you that God's and to address both of what you're saying, or I guess what your prompt and what he was saying, is that you could just argue that that if the laws are grounded in God's preferences, if God is a subject, or I'll pose a conditional, if God is a subject, then it would just be the case that the morality, if it's indexed to God's preferences, would be subjective, because God would be the subject. So yeah, you'd have to argue that God is either the object, or that morality exists independently of God, right? In which case, this would just lead to, again, the Euthyphro dilemma, and then solutions to the Euthyphro dilemma.
You could just say, I mean, some people define morality, objectivism, right? Some people would say instead of mind dependent, it's stance dependent. So even though it would be mind dependent, it would still be objective, because that's how some people would define objective. They would say it's stance dependent instead of mind dependent.
Well, okay, but what's the distinction between the stance and the mind in the context of subjective morality and, like, subjectivity? Like, what would be the distinction between these two things?
How I heard people say, like, poker, for example, I think you said, like, the stance is like an attitude to it. But when somebody says an action is, like, wrong, they're just saying, like, their opinion or their stance, their, like, attitude towards it.
Yeah, but that would just be subjective, though, right? Like, that would just be subjective, because that would be their stance, and their stance would be coming from their mind, right? So I would just.
I have to look into it again, but even if morality was subjective in that case, obviously God's mind is superior to ours.
Right.
If God has a mind, that's the thing. Like, that's another argument that I use to reconcile moral realism with the existence of a God. Is like, okay, does God even necessarily have a mind? Like,
what
you know what I mean?
Is
like,
a mind? That's the question.
Right. Well, like, what is a mind? Well, yeah, I would just argue that a mind is just a metaphysical or the transcendental property that is projected from the human brain or from a brain. But does God have a brain?
I feel like you're very smart, but can you dumb it down for me? Because I mean, I don't think I'm dumb, but you're using a lot of like words and stuff that I
Sure,
don't
sure.
understand.
Yeah, so long story short, right, is that we could argue that if God exists, that which I believe God does exist, right? And then we have arguments for this. I'm sure we all believe that God exists based on, I know
Yeah.
you guys, right? But so let's just say that God does exist. I define subjective, and most debaters define subjective as mind dependent or thought dependent, right? As it would be tied to a mind.
Mm-hmm.
So we could just make arguments that God is potentially absent a mind, and then this would just go into the whole like, okay, then what is subjective in the essence of God, right? We could also argue that God's nature is good itself, God's ontology, right?
Yeah,
And if God's
we agree that.
right, so if God's nature is good itself, then it would lead to the whole thing of like, okay, well, if God is just good in essence, then it wouldn't necessarily be subjective, right? But then it would also beg the question of, well, if God is good, did God choose to be good, or did God not choose to be good? Because if God didn't choose to be good in nature, then it would imply that God is not omnipotent. Like, because if God didn't choose to be good, then God wouldn't have the choice over whether he is good or not, and which would imply that he's not all powerful. You see what I'm saying?
Sure,
Depends
sure.
how you define all powerful. I mean, I have another question for that.
Well, yeah, but like, so Jacob, how would you deal with this question? Is there anything that God can't do?
In my personal belief, no.
Yes.
See, I would disagree. I would say God cannot go against his own nature, because in doing so, he would cease to be God.
I
Well,
agree.
okay, so let's follow this assumption. Let's just say that this is the case, and let's say that both of your contentions are correct. If this is the case, right, this goes back to conditionality. If this is the case, then you would also both be positing that God is not all powerful.
Well, that's why I said it
No.
depends how you define all powerful. Like you would.
Yeah, like exactly. So I would say that like all powerful would, so like to say like all powerful would be all powerful, but like if you like say I was all powerful and I put rules on myself, right? That I would only do good things, right? So this would be like the comparison to God. Like
I have a definition
if
of all
I
powerful.
broke
too.
that, then I would cease to be the God that like
I would say all powerful. I have two definitions: the power to do whatever is logically possible, or being more powerful than everything else in creation put together. That's how I would define it.
Oh, okay, but okay. Well, hold on a second, right? So this makes a few presuppositions. So if God is only capable, okay. So to answer CNC really quick and then protect. So to answer CNC, I would just say that would still lead to a contradiction, right? Like if you're defining all powerful as all powerful, one that would be circular, and two, it would lead to some contradiction, right? Because it's like if you say that God can impose rules on himself that he cannot break, it would just be contradictory. It just goes back to the immovable object or the unstoppable force hypothetical, right? Where it's like this would just break the second law of logic, where if a being is truly omnipotent, all powerful in the sense that nothing is impossible for them, which is traditionally the view of God, that nothing is impossible for God, then it would be contradictory to say that God could impose something on himself or assign a task to himself that he cannot complete.
Right, but here's the problem that I have with that. Like the other contention would be then that, like, how could you trust God's word if God can break these things, like he could break a promise, for example,
Yeah.
or he could sin, then how could you trust God?
Yeah, you can't. I would just say that if that's the case, then you just can't. I would just argue that it doesn't matter whether you can or can't, because even if morality in the end is proven to be subjective, it wouldn't matter, because it would just be indexed to a being's preferences that supersedes all of our preferences. So, in other words, if moral objectivity is the correct view, then we know that under moral universals, following our understanding of moral objectivity, that say things like abortion would be impermissible. And if moral subjectivity, as in God is the subject and it's based on his preferences, is the correct way, well, then it would also be the case that we should still not have things like
I get where
abortion.
you're going with it. Yeah, so you're saying that, like, regardless of objective or subjective, because God is greater than us and He
Correct.
lays it out, that it
Yes.
would not matter.
Correct.
Right, and I can agree with that.
All right, and then to protect, what Protect was saying is that could you please just really quickly reiterate your two definitions of all powerful really quickly?
The power to do anything that's logically possible. So within God's nature, and number two is being more powerful than everything in creation.
Okay. So the precept that's made here is that God operates within the laws of logic, which would just be confined to human understanding, right? So I would just argue that God isn't necessarily a rational actor that operates within the three laws of logic, but let's just go ahead and say that God is a rational actor that acts within the three laws of logic. So to address this, I would just say that if that is the case, that would definitely be a more valid, I guess, definition in a way than your other definition, which just says it's more powerful than any other thing in the universe, which is, fine on the surface, but at the end of the day, it also would imply like limits, right? Because it's like, okay, 7 is greater than 6, but right? There's a limit here. Like, just because it's more powerful than anything else in the universe, like, does an omniverse exist? And in the event that an omniverse does not exist,
Yeah, but
is
7
God's
would
power
be
finite?
yeah, but
Is
7
God
would be like inferior to 8. Like God
well?
would be yeah.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, right? Like, is there an omniverse? Are there other universes? It indicates that there is only one universe. It's just one verse, right? Then, if that's the case, is God's power limited? See, I believe that God's power, based on theological studies and everything, is just simply unlimited. So, not only is it greater than all things in the universe, it just simply cannot be usurped in any capacity.
Well, and I would take it to be the case that if multiple universes did exist, right, like that you posited, due to what the scriptures say about God is the same today, yesterday, and forever, that this would be the case, that He would be the same in every universe.
You just
So,
created those
like,
universes.
again, it would not be, like, it wouldn't matter. Just in the same way, like, subjective and objective with God would not matter.
I would just say, like, again, I would still say God can't break his own nature. Like, in a eternal being can't cease to exist. Like, I like God is eternal and God will always exist. So you can't just wake up one morning and say, okay, I don't exist anymore. Like,
Well, and I would say, like, I would posit this to what Jacob said too. While I can agree with what he said about this, like, objective and subjective, I would say that, he brought up a good point that we don't know that God is, like, logical to, like, the kind of logic that we understand. Maybe within, the framework of God, the logic, like, there's a different logic that would, like,
apply to God.
support what you're saying. Protect.
I
as
well,
far as,
I don't
like,
think
you
the laws
can't
of
break.
logic. I don't think the laws of logic are man-made. I think
Right. Well,
just
what I'm saying is, like, so it says that we say through a veil dimly, right? So what I'm saying is, like, we can have an idea of what logic would be from God, but we couldn't understand it completely. So, like, the idea that you and I both have stated that God can't break his, like, he can't go against his own nature, while that would seem to be illogical to us, maybe within the framework of God's logic, that is not illogical to say that, and for him to be all powerful. Do you guys get what I'm trying to say?
yeah.
Yeah, to an extent. I mean, I was posing some things earlier to someone I was talking to, and they were saying, like, essentially we were discussing, and it boiled down to, like, I argued that, like, let's say that God's nature is goodness itself, and that God just simply is good. Like, God
Well,
is
we had a
synonymous with
lady in here that said that God created love and
I was me.
corrected her and was like,
No, that was me.
yeah.
I said God.
Oh, okay. Well, somebody corrected it and said, no, God is love.
Right. So if I were to say that God is, like, good, and God is the essence of good, and God's nature is good, if I were to say that God is the grounding for, like, our morality, like, to go back to prompt, and, like, the source for good, and his ontology is good, and he's not going to act against his ontology, then I can say that God is the source for is good, right?
You're on teacup, buddy.
And by extension, I could say that. Sorry about that. And by extension, I could say that God is the source for morality, but it's not necessarily God's will, right? So like, God can be the source for universal goods, but it doesn't mean that it's God's will. God could just simply be this thing intrinsically. God could just simply be good, and if God just simply is good, and we act in accordance with like God's commands or God's interests, it actually would pose a good argument against morality being subjective, because it wouldn't necessarily be indexed to God's preferences. God just would be this thing. He just would be straight universal good. But if that's the case, then it would also suggest that God doesn't have control over his nature. And if God doesn't have control over his nature, then I could just argue that God is not in fact all powerful, in the sense that nothing is impossible for him.
Mm.
I would have to say, I would have to look at like theologians what they mean by all powerful, because Aquinas, like the can God lift the rock so big that he can't lift? I mean, that has been answered. It has been answered like centuries ago. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I feel
under
like this goes
traditional
back
logic,
to, like,
sorry, go ahead.
when I'm debating like atheists, I feel like this goes back to, they're like, okay, well, prove to me God exists. Can I, as a human being, like, prove 100% that God exists? The answer to that is no. But can I give a really, really good, strong argument that is logical to, like, the belief that he exists? Absolutely. Like, but I can always turn it around on him and say, okay, prove that he doesn't exist. And if they're being honest, they can't 100% prove that he doesn't. All they could do would be the same thing.
Right, but even then, if you lay the claim, the burden of proof is on you, then you can just run tag. But you can run tag in a fortified manner, because tag is not any singular argument. Tag is basically an aggregate of arguments, right? So you can run the first cause argument, right, like the cosmological. You could run the teleological argument of like, okay, the universe is ordered in this way, and then we go beyond the XYZ.
Yeah, that's the one that I run. I run a fine tuning argument.
Right, and you could run.
Yeah,
a moral
Genesis used
argument.
that in his debate last time. He did use that.
Well, yeah, but Genesis didn't run it the way that he should have run it. Like,
yeah,
Genesis versus BT3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something.
That was a disaster. Yeah.
That was something. He could have run it substantially better than he did. But to be honest, maybe he chose not to because he knew his opponent's capabilities. BT3 is, well, yeah.
Look, I'm not a debater, but BT3. I'm not a debater. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but like, I'm not a debater, but it looks like free eats whenever he's on.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I only do informals now. I don't do like formals on here anymore. But if I were to take Genesis debate from him in that moment, I could have just done that without any prep. He clearly prepped for that. I could have beaten BT3 with no prep. That was horrible. His line of questioning was horrible.
I was telling Protect, actually, bringing up BT3, that I was in a live where I was like we were going back and forth with BT3, trying to show, like, we gave him he gave the guy that he was talking to before me the hypothetical of, like, if there was like one person and you had to grape this one person to save 1 million people, would this be permissible? And of course, we're like, no. Both of us.
I asked Jacob this a few days ago too.
We were trying to get him to understand how, like, the person that's put in that position, right? If like you were put in this position to make this choice, that if you didn't act, like you did no action, you would in fact not be guilty of anything. Like it's not on you, because like the causal chain doesn't stop with the person put in the position to make the decision. It stops with the person who put them in, or persons that put them in the position for this decision. And he just could not understand that.
And to answer you, Protect, I was a little bit out of it the other day, but I would just argue that it's impermissible. Like, it's still morally wrong, and it would be morally wrong under moral universal code, or even if we were to argue subjective morality, I would just say that it's wrong under God's preferences. It doesn't really matter in this case. But let's just say that I did it and it's morally wrong. Catering to pragmatics, right? You could just make an argument that it's like, okay, it's wrong, but there's value in doing it. Like, okay, it's wrong, but the benefit outweighs the detriment. But I could accept that the benefit outweighs the detriment, but I could also accept that it's still morally wrong in conjunct with that. So like I would accept that it's wrong morally, right? But I would also accept that the benefit outweighs the detriment. Therefore, you could make an argument to do it. Does that make sense?
Well, I would say, in my view, I would say the moral culpability would be different. Like, I would say, in my view, I know people disagree. I would say the act of cannibalism is inherently wrong, right? But if a person were to eat human flesh, like if they were in a desert after like a plane crash, right, and they were to eat human flesh, I think a person's moral culpability would be lowered compared to a person who just cuts someone into pieces and turns them into a hamburger, right?
Right.
I don't
Yeah,
think,
I
I
can.
don't think, I don't think a person should be held criminally accountable. In the same sense, like if someone like is forcing you, if you don't grape this person, I'll blow your head off, right?
Yeah.
The act of grape would still be wrong. The person shouldn't be held to the same standards like
Correct.
the rapist.
I
Correct. And
mean,
they wouldn't be under the Christian worldview morally, and then legally they also necessarily wouldn't be. That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, so if we're gonna go off of like morals or legality, like that would be the case, that they would not be held to the same degree of accountability. That just would
right.
be the
Well,
case.
and like from a Christian worldview, though, like I would argue in both cases that from the Christian worldview, like if it is your time to go, right? Like it's your time, and that you need to trust in what God would want you to do. You're to follow Jesus, like so, like I would still not act in either situation. Like if I was going to starve to death, I would starve to death. If I was, this was going to happen, and these people were going to be unalive, well, I would possibly agree that it would be a lesser culpability. I would still say that it is wrong, and so therefore, if I'm truly following Christ, like I cannot do this thing.
Yeah, I guess my view, how would this not be like a self-sacrifice principle, right? When a person, that is an obligation not to do an action, so a person would,
Well, I mean, do you totally believe that we're not called to self-sacrifice? Like,
yeah,
because
I would say yeah. Like, I mean, if
I
you're a
would say that
Christian,
there are situations that God definitely puts us in
Mhm.
that call for self-sacrifice.
Yeah, obviously, I think to be a Christian, we would have to model our lives after Jesus. And if it ever came
Sure.
down to this, right, do we either recant our beliefs to save our own necks, or do we, affirm Jesus as our creator and that he
Yeah.
died for us?
I mean, it's like the question would be like, okay, somebody comes up to you, they put a pew to your head, and they say renounce Christ, or go meet him. Like, I mean, that's a little like a simplified version of it, but that's a self-sacrifice thing there, right? Do
Sure.
you do that, or do you save your neck?
No, you don't renounce them. Take the L.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's actually not even an L. It's a W, because like this is a temporary home. Like my home is
Exactly.
in heaven.
Exactly, right?
So
Plus, Christ even predicts this in his scriptures. Not only that Peter would do it, but he addresses like explicitly about people who will deny him, right, in front of the Father. So at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, I mean, this is accounted for even in our Christian foundations. Like, just accept him, take the death. I mean, that's what I would do.
Yeah. On the bright side, because we live in America, we most likely that's never going to come down to that. But unfortunately,
But
this is something that does occur.
well, I mean, yeah, but we do have like, I mean, I would say our most current modern day martyr, and I know there are people even on
Yeah.
the Christian side that don't agree,
Yeah.
but Charlie.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna say
Like,
that.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I mean, like, because I mean, if you really, at the end of the day, whether you like the man or not, um, even if you think he had some bad views, right? Like, he was definitely out there, preaching the word and stuff, and
He was,
that's
yeah.
what got him taken out.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like in America, while that is an extreme case, I'm just saying the worst thing that
Yeah,
can happen to you in most cases is you lose your job, you lose your friends, lose your
sure.
family.
Yeah, but like
Well,
in
I
a
mean, it's like
hypothetical where that was the case, you were going to lose your life. Like, do you
Yeah,
renounce God?
yeah,
I
yeah.
would. I
Obviously,
wouldn't.
yeah,
so.
obviously.
I mean, I won't go into a ton of detail, but I mean, I personally have already been put in this position in my own personal life when the vaccine came out. I had major issues with it. And like I said, I won't go into all the details, but because of my Christian worldview, I refuse to take it. I've never had it. I never will. And I was working in healthcare at the time as a CNA, and I was told very blatantly that there was a really, really good possibility that I would lose my job if I did not do this. And what I told my employers, which they were kind of surprised about, was I said, if this should come to be the case, this is God's will. It's if I'm meant to keep this job, God will keep me here. If it's not meant for me to stay in this job, then I won't. So I put my trust in the Lord in that situation, and it was rewarded. I never lost my job over it.
Well, you see, I'm not going to say where I went, but I've been going to Catholic schools for most of my life, and my university, while it is a Catholic school, when money is on the line, they will throw away their beliefs just like that. So
Crazy.
what you say?
That's crazy. So it's really just about the money, really, no?
Yeah, it's a business first and foremost. Since it's a private college, they will they will do a lot of things that goes against the doctrine of the Catholic Church because it is a business first and foremost.
Right. So that kind of undermines the whole thing, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, they know to make money. Well, hold on. They know to make money, they're gonna have to. They don't want to upset people, so they know, like, okay, we LGBT is a sin, right? Abortion is a sin, but most of our people who go to our college do not subscribe to Catholicism, so we're gonna throw away our beliefs to make them happy, so they can give us money in a.
Yeah, it's just appeasement. That's just part of the bureaucratic process. It's just entrepreneurial. It's not really. That's not genuine. Like,
So Protect. You know what's about to happen. I've got to rib you. See, this is why you need to submit to Jesus only, not the Roman Catholic Church.
I mean, they do that in Protestant colleges too, but
Protect submits to me in bed. I'm just kidding. All right, I'll be back, y'all.
Protect go back and forth over it because I'm Protestant and he's leaning Catholic, and so we go back and forth about this all the time.
Not gonna lie, I was raised Roman Catholic, but I've just been a non-practitioner. But I lean towards Catholicism. But yeah, I don't know. CNC, good to see you. Protect, good to see you. Protect, you've had this prompt up for like 2 hours of ending soon, just so you know.
The preview. Oh yeah. This is gonna be the last
we
live.
keep getting into really good conversations.
Yeah, this is gonna be the last live I'm gonna have this year. I'm not gonna have a whole live until the next year.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I'm not gonna hold any lives until like after like New Year's.
This is it, brother?
Yeah, for December. Yeah, I'm not gonna hold any more.
So if I see you on your own live or in another, do I get to tell you need to repent for lying then?
Yeah, probably. I promise I'm not gonna be on the panel. I'm gonna make AI videos from my AI account, but I'm not gonna be on any.
Nice.
I'll see that AI account in panels,
Hey,
and we'll be able to discuss things.
Speaking, I might need to talk to you, buddy.
Yeah.
All right, I love you guys. Take care.
I turn like 24 like tomorrow too. So yeah.
Happy birthday, brother.
Congratulations. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. 1 year for every hour in the day, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, one more year and you'll be fully mature.
Yeah, exactly.
I hope.
That's when I'll swoop in like a bird of prey. Protect. Remember, there's 1,440 minutes, 86,400 seconds in a day, and I can't stand to go a single one of either of these metrics without you. Like a single second passes, and I'm just already sweating thinking about being away from you.
Yeah. Money talks. My PayPal and my Venmo's my bio.
That's crazy.
I thought you were married. Protect. Like you kept telling everybody you were married the other night.
Yeah, I am. But maybe I might be. I'm still inquiring. What is it like a sect that allows you to marry multiple people? I'm not sure.
Yeah, he's married He's married to this. I mean, all right. You guys take care.
Yeah. Have a good night and have a happy New Year.
I love you. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Yeah.
You too, man.
See you next year, brother.
Yeah.